Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Tom Brennaman.
Good morning, and a pleasant good Wednesday morning. Welcome to our Chatterbox Studios here in the heart of Hamilton, Ohio. And welcome, as always, to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Tom Brennaman, alongside the dynamic duo turned trio, Casey McAllister, Paul Fritchner, Jacob Tissett. Gentlemen, good morning.
How are you today, Tom?
Everything's groovy. Beautiful day. Sunshine, 70s. How you going to beat it?
Yeah, this is maybe the best weather week of the year so far. Whole week? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It's been nice.
You know, there's nothing like sunshine, 70-degree weather, and soccer in the air.
Ooh, yes.
That's right. Big one tonight on the pitch, Tom.
The
Big time.
pitch. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, we come your way Monday through Friday. More on that in a minute. 10 a.m. to 12
P.
Indeed. You can follow us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. Many of you here already. I don't know what in the hell is going on with our buddy Sir Boy Wonder here today. I have no idea what the deal is with him. He is all over the map. I love the guy, but I don't know what's going on today.
I have no clue either. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, there was at some point in the chat yesterday where everybody was just naming random baseball players, and I think that carried over to today.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, he is on a roll that reminds me of somebody that should be spending a lot of time in Sing Sing. You ever seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
No.
I would highly recommend all of you. If there is one movie out there, and there are hundreds, if there is one movie out there that is a must-watch for any person alive, and you'd have to be alive to watch it, that would be One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the movie that put Jack Nicholson on the map. Phenomenal movie. If you care to join us in podcast form, by all means, just search Off the Bench with Tom Brennaman, and you're dialed in. It is rare indeed to see the kind of game we saw last night in Denver. After all, you're at mile-high altitude, which generally leads to mile-high scoring in a baseball game, but not last night. In fact, not a single run was scored until the bottom of the sixth inning, when Colorado's number 9 hitter, Ezequiel Tovar, clubbed a solo home run off Brandon Williamson, who was making his major league debut in Denver, no less. And what a debut it turned out to be for Williamson. That would be the only run he allowed. Over 5 2/3 innings, he struck out 6, walked only 2. I say walked only 2 because Williamson was walking almost 5 batters per 9 innings this season at AAA Louisville. In the 7th inning, Nick Senzel, a monster home run with a man aboard, gave Cincinnati the lead. They would add another on a Matt McClain base hit in the 8th, en route to a 3-1 win. The Reds close out their series and the road trip today at 3:10. Graham Ashcraft opposes Aston Gomber. A win today, and it would be a 4-2 road trip through Miami and Colorado. After an off day tomorrow, the New York Yankees come to town. Paul O'Neill, former Red and Yankee, will join us Friday morning right here on Off the Bench to preview the series. Speaking of New York, Justin Verlander up in Queens booed last night. Nobody can boo like New York fans can boo. It was his home debut with the New York Mets, and you can understand why. I'd have booed him too. Making just his 3rd start of the year due to injury, he pitched 5 innings, allowed 6 runs, 8 hits, including 2 home runs, in an 8-5 shellacking by the Tampa Bay Rays. The Mets are a season-high 3 games under 500 with a $300 million team payroll. $300 million plus. In the NBA playoffs, it was game 1 of the Western Conference Finals last night in Denver, and as is normally the case, it was the Nikola Jokic show. This guy, another triple-double, his 6th of this postseason alone. 34 points, 21 rebounds, and 14 assists as the Nuggets beat LeBron and the Lakers 132-126. Wild game. Anthony Davis puts up 40 and 12. LeBron goes for 26 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. Game 2 set for tomorrow night in the Mile High City. Tonight, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Jimmy Butler v. Jason Tatum. The Heat and the Celtics. It's a third time in the last 4 years these two teams have met in the Eastern Conference Finals, including the bubble year. The San Antonio Spurs won the NBA draft lottery last night, which means they will select French superstar Victor Wembanyama as the number 1 overall pick. Remember that name. 2 other times in San Antonio franchise history they've had the first pick in the draft. The Admiral, David Robinson, out of the Naval Academy in 1987. Tim Duncan out of Wake Forest in 1997. Both players helped lead the Spurs to multiple NBA titles, and both are in the Basketball Hall of Fame. UC getting some new duds going into the Big 12 this year. AD John Cunningham announced yesterday some deal with something called BSN. Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
They're going to be wearing the Jordan brand in all sports starting this upcoming school year. The last time they wore the Jordan brand was during the Bob Huggins years, when, of course, the men's basketball team perennially ranked among the nation's top teams in the country. Lastly, FC Cincinnati. Can't you smell it in the air? Right? Like Brando said about napalm in Vietnam. It's in the air. FC Cincinnati actually has an MLS game during the week tonight at home against Montreal. 7:30 on the pitch, as they call it. FC will be looking to take sole possession of first place in the Eastern Conference. It is always a pleasure every Wednesday to be joined by the Hall of Famer, Marty Brennaman. Dad, have you ever been to TQL Stadium to watch FC Cincinnati?
Tom, that would be a no. I have not. And you know, God bless them. They've done a wonderful job. That organization, I think, has done a fantastic job. Obviously, the stadium that was built has certainly done nothing but help them, and I'm happy for their success. But I'd be less than honest if I said I was a soccer fan, because I'm not. I never have been since you and Dawn played. I was less so when Ashley played. I was less so when Aiden played. And Luke and Ella. I'm just not a soccer fan. I have a hard time getting my head around a sport that rarely, if ever, scores. And so I'm just not a fan. But I'm happy for the success they've had as far as the city is concerned and as far as the organization is concerned.
Yes, they have put together a winning team in a very short amount of time. 2 years ago, they were the worst team in the league. And now, all of a sudden, last year, Eastern Conference Finals. This year, among the best 2 or 3 teams in the league. Maybe we ought to get down there one night.
Well, we'll see about that.
Okay. All right. The team you have paid close attention to, the Cincinnati Reds, with a win today, would finish a 4-2 road trip. Brandon Williamson last night. You know, baseball is such a funny game. I mean, you've seen thousands of these guys. I've seen hundreds of these guys where they bring them up from the minor leagues. He was the big piece in the Seattle deal that sent Suarez and Winker to the Mariners.
Correct.
And he was not having a good year in AAA. He was having a hard time throwing strikes. You'd have never known it last night.
I tell you, he was impressive. He was as good as I've seen. You know, we talk so much about Green and we talk so much about Lodolo and also Ashcraft. That kid last night was front and center from the first pitch that he threw, which was a call strike. He was around the strike zone all night long, even though he did walk 2 batters, as you stated. I really, quite honestly, had a problem with David Bell not giving him one more hitter to face, because had he done that and he had gotten the out, he would have won the game. I thought the hook was way too soon. I'm sure that the manager of the Reds has a relatively thought out reason why he took him out. Probably the answer would be because I didn't want him to be put in a position where he could lose the game. And that's always a fallback answer, whether you agree with it or not. But I thought he should have been left out there to try and get one more out.
You know, don't you think it's a little ironic, and I didn't think of this until you just said that last sentence. Isn't it ironic? And I made the comment yesterday, Dad, you know as well as I do. You can have all the analytics people in the world tell you that wins don't matter when it comes to a starting pitcher, as this game has evolved where guys are going 5 innings, and most of the guys in the bullpen, in a lot of cases, are getting the decision win or lose. But I find it sort of hypocritical is not the right word, but for a franchise, and all franchises are like this to a greater or lesser extent, where they rely on analytics and all that kind of thing, that all of a sudden you would then turn around and say, well, I don't want the guy to lose the game. I mean, once he gives up the home run, he's already behind in the game. That made it a
Correct.
1-0 game. So if wins are not important as they used to be for starting pitchers and evaluating their performance, why all of a sudden is it a big deal if the guy loses a game?
Because those people talk out of both sides of their mouth. That is the single stupidest statement I've ever heard from people who fashion themselves as analytical purists as it comes to baseball. Winning and losing is what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Like who was it, Bear Bryant or whoever it was that said years ago, if winning is not important, then don't even count wins and losses. Don't even say who wins and who loses. Wins are everything. I don't give a damn what they say. They're stupid if they make that statement, because wins are important and losses are important from a negative perspective. So, all they do is talk out of both sides of their mouth when one of them, whoever them might be, says, well, wins and losses are not important. That's the single dumbest statement I've ever heard.
That brings us to Hunter Green, who has not won a game. Now, look, there are a number of different ways to look at this whole thing. I certainly understand both of them, but I made the comment yesterday. You were watching some of the show, not all of it, but, I made the comment yesterday. There's a reason why they put the stats up for players, right? Because ultimately that's how they're evaluated and that's how they're paid, based on statistics,
Exactly.
right? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Well, nobody can make me believe that it's not important to any pitcher to have W's when you look down the column of wins and losses as opposed to losses. I know Hunter Green's 23 years old, but is it too early to start getting a little concerned? He's given up 68 base runners in 43 innings. You can always fall back on, he's young, they're growing pains, and all those things are true. But for you, is there reason yet to be a little concerned about Hunter Green?
Yes, I would be. 23? Yes, I certainly would. And I realize the kid had Tommy John surgery and he's had to overcome some physical problems that probably and we'll never know, but he probably would have gotten to the big league sooner than he did. Or if he didn't, and he never had the Tommy John problem, he probably would have been more mature when he got to the big leagues. I think definitely there is a reason to be some concern. Are you going to jump off bridges and that type of thing right now? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's way too early for that. But I still believe that they had need, and if they say there is no concern at all, this is all a part of the learning process, I don't believe that crap. I don't believe that at all. They're talking about this kid being the face of this franchise, and he's got everything going for him, as we've talked before. He is incredibly articulate. He's a nice-looking kid. He's got the whole package, but he's got to go out and he's got to win. He's got to pitch well. He can't pitch 4 1/3 or 5 innings and throw 98 pitches. He can't do that, and eventually reach the position in his career where he will be compared with people like Verlander and DeGrom and people like that, the current crop of pitchers. I think there's definitely a reason. The one thing I'm always mindful of when I watch him pitch is what my dear departed friend Joe Morgan used to say: it doesn't make a single bit of difference how hard you throw it up here. We are going to figure it out. And if you keep throwing that number one pitch, we're going to continue to hit it in the seats. And I think that Hunter Green is a poster child right now for that statement. He gives up a very high number of home runs. He throws too many pitches. Yes, I think there is a reason right now to be a little bit concerned.
The thing that troubles me the most, and I know it does you, you've talked about it before, is that, It seems like every game is the same game over and
Yes.
over and over. It's 100 pitches by the fifth inning. It's one very bad inning, seemingly every start that he has. I don't know if there's anything you can do about the bad inning, but it seems to me, in concert with Derek Johnson, the pitching coach, there has to be something you can do about pitch efficiency there. Or am I wrong?
Yeah. No, I think definitely there's something you can do about that. But that goes back to what we've talked about before, Tom, and that is that I really believe this kid still has not gotten over the hump yet to the realization that it's a whole lot easier on you and your arm and your longevity in a game on a game-by-game basis if you can get the guy to hit the first pitch on a ground ball to shortstop or pop the ball up or hit a routine fly ball rather than having to throw a minimum of 3 pitches to get a strikeout. I think he feels like he's got to live up to his reputation of being the hardest thrower in baseball and the guy that's going to rack up the strikeouts. When you talk about a figure that doesn't mean a damn thing to me, strikeouts don't mean anything to me because that just means more pitches from a young man who's already had to endure a Tommy John surgery. And if the day comes, and I underline the word if, because in many cases it never dawns on a young guy that it's easier to get a ground ball or a pop-up early in the count than it is to try and strike everybody out. And I think that mentality, and again, I guarantee you they would all go back and say, oh, you're dead wrong. That's not true. Okay, that's fine. All I know is he strikes out 7, 8, 9 batters in 5 1/3 innings or whatever the case might be, but he's still thrown 100 or 100 and some pitches. So I think that's a problem in and of itself, and I'm sure Derek has probably tried to pound it home to him as say, son, a ground ball or a pop-up or a routine fly ball is just as easy or more so than getting a strikeout as far as pitches are concerned.
We've talked about the bullpen, and now all of a sudden they're ranked number 1 as far as the lowest ERA is concerned among all National League teams. I mean, this group has really put it together. They're pitching beautifully. Last night, fantastic in relief of Williamson. And Diaz is a bona fide stud. I mean, I think this guy has put himself in a position where he is one of the top 3-4 closers in the National League. But, there's a flip side to everything. They've also thrown the most innings of any bullpen in the National League. And it makes you wonder, is this sort of a ticking time bomb where you keep going to that bullpen for 4 innings, it seems like every single night, or 3 1/3 or 3 2/3? When does it eventually start to catch up with guys?
Well, I mean, Tom, let's face facts here now. Since David Bell's managed this club, that's been a movie we've seen more than one time. Here we are approaching within a week or so the beginning of the 3rd month of the season, and I think that at the rate they're going right now, they're going to burn that bullpen out. But we've seen it happen before, where they continually go to the bullpen time again because they're not getting sufficient innings from their starting pitchers. And these young men, I feel bad for them because I think by the time July rolls around or August, they're going to be spent. And there are only so many times you can go down to Louisville and call up kids to come up here and replace guys that go on the disabled list for whatever the reason that didn't make the club to begin with. So I think it's an ongoing problem, and I think it has been a consistent problem for this club for the last 3 years.
You bring up David Bell, and I'm not going to get into with you whether or not we think that this guy's a good manager, a bad manager, whether he should stick around, whether he should be extended, whatever it might be. But the bottom line is his contract is up at the end of the year. And there's a lot of talk about, will the Reds stay with him once they start to bring all these young guys up, and we've started to see it and all that kind of thing. But I talked to a couple of people inside the Reds organization that tell me that, there's this sort of not necessarily, pitting one another, but the situations are reality. You've got an organization that realistically is looking at another year or two and bringing guys up and developing players and all that kind of thing. But you got a guy who's trying to hang on to his job as a manager of the team who feels like he needs to win right now or not lose 90 or 95 games to keep his job. I wonder if there's any of that kind of thing going on inside the organization right now.
Yeah, I would have to think so. But also, I think what you just said about, and I think it would be human nature if you or me or whoever was managing the club, and you know that you may be skating on thin ice. You're going to do what you feel like you have to do to put yourself and the team in the best position of winning. And if that means going to guys that maybe under a normal set of circumstances you wouldn't go to as quickly, I think that all factors into this whole situation. And so it's a tough call, but at the same time, it's something that I think from a realistic perspective, the powers that be have to face facts and have to deal with this situation in the best manner that they see to do.
You know, the guy, they bring up Matt McLean since you were last on the show, and he's off to a very good start in just his first couple of games in the big leagues, getting starts the last couple of games, hits the last couple of games, RBI last night to drive in a big run in the eighth inning. With all of the different middle infielders this organization has acquired, either drafting in McLean's case or trading for in other cases. When all is said and done, if guys turn out to be who you think they might be, and I'm not talking about going to the Hall of Fame, I'm just talking about really good everyday major league players. If everything were to play out that way, do you think ultimately De La Cruz ends up being the shortstop, McLean goes to second base, or do you think McLean ends up being – I know you don't have a crystal ball. Maybe it's an unfair question, but how do you think all that ends up shaking out?
Well, however it shakes out, the biggest question is Jonathan India.
Yeah.
And what the heck they're going to do with him. I made the point to you, I think, last week. Somebody came out with a comment before McLean got called up about, he's made all of his errors at shortstop while playing at Louisville. He's made none at second base. Maybe the club would be inclined to move him to second base eventually when he got to the big leagues. But, we don't know whether Jonathan India can play anywhere else. Well, you should have figured that out in spring training. You should have had Jonathan India in left field in spring training just to see how he would be able to acclimate himself to that position. They sure as hell didn't have any problem doing it with Nick Senzel when they were drafted and signed him. So why in the world would you not have taken the opportunity then as you look down the road as to what was going to happen when Matt McLean and or De La Cruz and the kid Marte, who's having a great year at AA Chattanooga, when they get to the point where they can play big league baseball. I think to award De La Cruz, automatically award him shortstop, is a little premature because I think they still have to deal with the fact that can we run out a young man, no matter how talented he is, at 6 feet 5 inches tall to play shortstop, where it's never happened before, as opposed to moving him into center field to take advantage of his incredible athleticism, his ability to run, his ability to throw. They've got a whole lot of questions that they have to answer because their philosophy, as we have stated in the past, come draft day, is to draft as many shortstops as we can because they are the most athletic. They play the most athletic position there is on the field, and they have the ability to move to other spots if the necessity arises. I don't know what's going to happen to Matt McLean. I think that they're doing exactly what they need to do when they brought him up, and that's to play him every day. And they were very assertive in making that statement. So now he's at shortstop. Now he's made the plays. When De La Cruz's turn comes, then they're going to have a major decision at that point. And again, the guy that you have the largest question mark over his head happens to be Jonathan India because he is not a good defensive second baseman. And he could either find a position that he could play, and I think they would prefer left field more than anywhere else if he leaves second, or let's face facts, they could trade him and probably reap some benefits from doing that if the decision ultimately was reached that there is nowhere else for him to play but we have to play Matt McClain over there because he's better defensively. Tom, this is a bad defensive team. So they can't continue to bring people up there and play them in positions that they can handle defensively, or in India's case, continue to play him at second base when they have to know in their heart of hearts, unless he can show massive improvement, which he's not been able to do in, 2+ years now, then we have to move him somewhere else if there's somewhere else for him to play.
You know the guy that, and this is the last thing I want to ask you about, you know the guy that there's something in the back of my mind, and I think you're going to vehemently disagree with this, which is fine. It was 2021, and here we are just in the first month of the 2023 season. In 2021, we were talking about Jose Burrow, much like we're talking about Matt McClain. They brought Jose Burrow through 4 levels of baseball in less than a year and a half. In 2021, this guy went from single A to double A, and they brought him to the big leagues when he wasn't ready. But the last full season that he got, 300 or more at-bats at one level, the guy hit 19 home runs. He knocked in 66 runs. He had an on-base percentage of .380, and he hit over 300. That's a year and a half ago. And now all of a sudden it looks like he has just been cast to the side at fewer than 400 major league at-bats. He's still he's a year older than McClain. I just wonder if maybe, and look, you may disagree. I just wonder if maybe they have cashed in the chips already on Burrow a wee bit early. You buying that or no?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think that, and I agree with everything you said, the great year he had, but I also think there are some players that can't play in the big leagues. I think there are some players that can beat the hell out of the baseball at every level of minor league ball that there is. But once you get to that top level, they either become very average players and they end up being extra men, or they simply can't cut it at all. And I think that this club has given Jose Burrow, they have gone the extra mile as far as I'm concerned with him, just like they did with Aristides Aquino. They kept him too long. People, they look like he was stupid if you could say this guy can't play in the big leagues. And we're finding that out to be the case now, and they probably hung on to him a year too long. In Barrero's case, I don't think there would be a shortage of teams that would line up to sign him if the Reds designated him, which they won't do, or they put him out there and teams expressed an interest in trading for him, because it's an age-old deal in baseball. I can do for this kid what you were unable to do. You couldn't do the things that you had to do to make him a productive big league ball player, but I know our people can. So we'll take a chance on him. I think they were forced into making a decision on him right now because of how quickly Matt McClain came. I mean, when you're tearing up AAA pitching like he was doing and playing well in the field, you got to bring him up. That's the reason why you make decisions about bringing kids up more often than not, is if they're performing at the highest level of the minor leagues, which is AAA, bring him up here and let's see what he can do right now. It's hard to say what's going to happen to Burrow, because it's certainly not benefiting him now to sit on the bench and every now and then get a start when they want to give McClain a day off or whatever the case might be. If his progress is being impeded now because he's no longer playing every day, a lot of that's on him, because he certainly has had an opportunity to show that whatever improvements he thought he had made since last year and working with various and sundry hitting coaches in spring training and whatnot was going to stand him in good stead in 2023. It hasn't done that. And he's also a kid, Tom, that doesn't play very well defensively.
Yeah, and that's an issue for this team. I mean, I think I
Sure
heard
is.
the stat last night where they've given up, or they have, however they, whatever, barometer they use to gauge these things, on outs that should have been made by the defense. It's up in the mid-60s for outs that should have been made, and you wonder how much that plays into the starting pitchers feeling like they got to strike guys out instead of having the ball put in play because guys can't make the play. It goes on and on and on and on. But the bottom line is, here we are with the Yankees coming to town over the weekend, and the bottom line is they have been far better. Are you going down there this weekend?
I'll be there Sunday afternoon.
Wow. Better have a parade down there.
What's so well about that?
Well, don't you think, Casey, if the Hall of Famers going down to a game down there, they ought to have a little parade down maybe Joe Nuxall Way or something?
Oh, absolutely.
Nah, they don't care about me anymore. I just show up every now and then, That's fine with me. I'm good with that. Before I go.
Yeah, but you're not sitting with a common man. You're not sitting with a common man at that ballpark on Sunday.
Yes, I am.
Oh, are you going to be out on the bud deck with me?
No, I'm going to be in the diamond seats.
Oh, okay.
With a common man.
With the common man.
Yeah, with a common man. That's right. All right. What were you getting ready to say? Forgive me.
I heard you talk about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I fashioned myself because I spend so much time on a treadmill and I'm watching Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and Apple Plus and all those streaming websites. I recommend every now and then shows on my Instagram account. And I'm going to recommend 2 to people who are inclined, as I am, to watch some of the best there is on TV. Daisy Jones and the Six.
Okay.
Daisy Jones and the Six. Many people say it's loosely based on the early years of Fleetwood Mac. And the other one is a series based on how the movie and what went on behind the scenes when The Godfather was eventually made. It's a show called The Offer.
Okay.
And both of them are spectacular.
Well, there you go, fellas. Paul and I are getting ready to dive into simultaneously Succession.
Yep.
I'm going to try to get my
I've
bride.
seen 3 or 4 episodes of it, and I got to get back to it, and I thought it was wonderful. I really did.
I tell you, this other one I started the other day. I told you the guy from Friday Night Lights. There's some big-time Sissy Spacek is in it. I've only watched the first 3 episodes, but it is fantastic. It's called Bloodline. They have 3 seasons of it that are out, and it is really good. What's that?
Streaming service is it on?
That's on Netflix.
Bloodline.
It's won a ton of awards. It's had 3 seasons under its belt. It is good. In fact, you're a good friend, Everett, who always asks you about, what's
Harry Potter?
Harry Potter. He says, no doubt, very underrated show. Very, very good. All right. So there you have it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. That's
Dan,
good.
thanks
good
for the time.
Me.
Have fun down there on Sunday. I'll see you tomorrow night or Friday night.
I'll be there, pal. Thank you.
All
Boys,
right.
take it easy.
See you, Marty.
See you, Marty.
All right,
There
guys.
you go. We got a couple new shows to get dialed in. But, Paul, we got to get going on Succession.
We do.
We got to get going.
Yeah.
A little busy time for me right now, so I'm not able to, like a lot of people out there. If you got kids getting ready to graduate from high school and you got their sports seasons going on, they're grad parties seemingly 3-4 days a week. You just never end.
June 5th, Tom. June 5th is a Monday. That's after. So this week.
It's after Marymount wins the state championship.
Yeah. So we have Xavier plays baseball this weekend. There's a Big East tournament next weekend. Casey's got his wedding on June 3rd. June 5th, we get into the summer, settle down, watch Succession. How about that?
That's a deal. Did you see Sir Boy Wonder's line? I don't know what is going on with him today.
Little Einstein.
He says, Marty, you should start watching the show called Little Einstein. Little Einstein. My kids were that age. Believe me, I've watched many of them. I think that Sir Boy Wonder still watches that show now.
He might.
What were your favorite shows to tag?
Have you ever seen the Wiggles in concert?
In concert?
In concert, like the Wiggles are?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I've seen them.
Fruit salad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Big red car. Travel near and we're traveling far. Toot, toot, chug a big red car. We're gonna ride the whole day long. That's a big league song.
Oh, that's big league. What you just did right there? True nut cutter right there.
You got any other favorite shows that you tag along?
For the kids?
You tag along watch
For
with
the
the
kids.
kids?
Well, I used to do all the time. I used to humiliate them. We'd walk into school because where they went to school, grew up in elementary school, you could just walk to school. And so I'd walk with them. And as all the other kids were kind of coming from different, blocks to get to the school in the middle of town, I'd start doing that hot dog. That dance they did, on the what is it? It's a Disney thing. Mickey's Clubhouse.
Clubhouse.
Yeah, you remember that? Hot diggity dog. You know that song?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big league song. So you guys probably watched these in your youth, right? Or you're a little too old for that.
I was big into Arthur. I watched the
Arthur, yep.
Berenstein Bears,
Yep.
Cyber Chase.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of any others. I
Blues Clues.
loved Blues Clues.
Bob and
What is
Builder.
that one?
Blues Clues?
Blues Clues? Never heard of it. Okay, go ahead.
Whoa, what?
I've never heard of Blues Clues. What is Blues Clues?
That's a shame, is what that is.
What?
Blues Clues?
You've never heard of Blues Clues?
Never heard of it. Nope.
Whoa. Wow.
Everett says it was a clown show.
I mean,
there was a clown that was the main guy on the show.
why? Yeah, that's a good point, Steve.
Steve.
What's a good point, Steve? What is that?
Well, Steve got in trouble.
He got in some really big trouble.
It was an animated show, but there was a real guy. There was an actual actor that was part of the show, and then he played along with the animated.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve ended up not being a great guy. They had to distance him.
They had to send him to college.
They had
to send him away to college.
Yeah, they had to send Steve away for a little while.
You mean off the air or on the air?
No.
Well, they sent him to college on air. They sent him away off air.
Like the prison away?
Well, I don't know whatever ended up happening to Steve.
I'm not exactly sure either. I think he maybe went to rehab, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Steve needed some time away from the camera.
Those that are watching, please
PB's Ghost
share,
says Blues
subscribe.
Clues is a woke show, so I'm not surprised you guys loved it.
How is Blues Clues a woke show?
I'm just telling you what he said.
I
All
have
right?
A woke show.
Yeah. I don't know.
AM has a great point of all. He says, the boys giving Tom heck over Blues Clues haven't seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He says that is the peak in Gen Z.
Oof, that one hurt.
Well, I'm not saying you have to watch it, but the fact you never heard of it?
I literally have and believe me, I watched all this stuff with our kids. All the ones you mentioned. I mean, I'm singing songs from Wiggles for crying out loud. I saw him down at Cintas in concert.
The Wiggles.
Forget Aerosmith. Forget the Rolling Stones. Right? I'm down there watching Wiggles. And knew all the words to every song. Every single one of them. You said Arthur. We weren't as much into that, but Mickey's Clubhouse. And I mean, on and on and on. But no.
All right.
Never watched SpongeBob. No.
I didn't like.
No.
I didn't like SpongeBob either.
No.
I watched it every once in a while, but I never got into it. I watched it. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't watch it. I watched it.
So you guys have never heard of Captain Kangaroo, right? You ever
No.
heard of the Banana Splits? Any of that? So you asking me about Blues what?
Blues Clues.
Blues Clues is like me asking you about the Banana Splits or Captain Kangaroo. Or for that matter, even in prime time, All in the Family.
Oh, no, that one I got. I know All in the Family. I don't know the other two.
Yeah, I didn't know any of them.
I was more of a Disney Channel than I was Nickelodeon.
The one I'm disappointed no one said yet, especially in the chat, is Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh, man. No.
Choo choo.
If anybody, now you hit a nerve here. Okay? Yeah, boy. That's the creepiest shit I've ever seen. I'm telling you right now. If anybody has ever read the Stephen King, and I'm trying to remember what it's 3 different books, but a trilogy. right? Wizards and something. And I've read every Stephen King book. But I'm going to tell you, there is a Thomas the Dark Engine kind of thing going on there. I mean, this is a unbelievable trilogy of books. His imagination is, and I'm telling you right now, you read those and then go watch or even see a book with Thomas the Train. Is that what it was?
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah. D-U-N done. And I'm done. I got to go. Take it away. I got to go to the bathroom thinking about Thomas the Train. Ham and Eggers.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great. Trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
All right, well, we're going to do the Bengals report here because we do have Zim WhoDey coming up here in just a second. So the Bengals report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve
efficiency and productivity.
I thought you were about to kick the productivity back to me the way you said and. Visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. Also, we have a new premium alkaline water. It's called Pawnee. We love it. We've been drinking it for a while. Casey and I have been on our water kick, so we love Pawnee water. Mm-hmm. Pawnee water is a new premium alkaline water, and they are the official water of the Views and Brews that is this Friday, 6 to 10 p.m. downtown at Sawyer Point. They are also the sole water provider at the Oxford Wine and Craft Beer Festival this coming Saturday, and they're the sole water provider of the River's Edge concert series in Hamilton this summer. Taylor Swift will be there.
Moving on up, Pawnee water.
Pawnee water. It is a water that uses natural limestone filtration, and it's made right here in Hamilton. Unlike the artificial processing that many other brands use, Pawnee, natural limestone, and it's a healthy alkaline water that's also the best tasting water in the world. Visit their website at pawneewater.com. That's PAHHNI water.com. PAHHNI water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water.
And before we wrap up the ads, if you guys can find Pawnee water, tweet at us, send us a picture of it. We would love that.
It is available in stores. I know we talk about pawneewater.com, but it is available in something like 200. I don't have the exact number.
It's like 200 stores.
Something like 200 stores. Still working on getting it into UDF, but it's also available in something like 200 stores around the tri-state area.
Yeah,
so
check out your local gas station. See if it's there. Snap a picture. Send it in to us. We'd really enjoy that.
Drink Pawnee water, get your coffee from UDF, bet with Betfred, and get your technology solutions from Encore.tech. I see Brian B. asking, can we put at least one hanger on the door? There is a hanger on the door. The problem is it's just down on the handle, not up on the hook where you can see it when the camera flies in the middle of it. We haven't heard from Chad Waits today. Is Chad in here today?
He was in very early.
He was in early, and
he dipped out. He's probably working.
That's true.
He's got to work.
That's true.
I see that some people are pointing out that Pat McAfee went to ESPN.
Saw that. He's going to stay on YouTube.
He's still on YouTube, though.
Yep.
Everything's the same, apparently, which is great for their program. I mean, what makes programs like his and ours special is the community within the chat, in my opinion.
Every morning.
Numbers are slightly different.
Numbers are slightly different, but we still got a tight-knit group here.
Yes, we do.
Every morning we provide a space for hundreds, if not thousands, to join the chat and just have a social hour for 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12 p.
Well, hold on now.
Uh-oh.
You are by and large right. By and large right.
But
Casey is not the champion of free speech. He has proven that on I'm not going to say a regular basis, but a somewhat regular basis.
Well, there's certain limitations to free speech. Like you can't yell, there's a fire, or there's a bomb. You can't talk bad about our hometowns like Hamiltucky and Blanchester. That's just – I thought that was one-on-one.
Tom, thoughts?
People want to rip on Hamilton, rip on Hamilton. We love Hamilton. People want to rip on Blanchester, rip on Blanchester. Beautiful people out of there. Right? You, my man Thomas.
Right.
The guy you gave an 8, couldn't even sleep last night.
You know, I did not.
Couldn't even sleep.
I did not leave the show yesterday without it being just thrown right back in my face. I had to deal with it on social media, Tom. Everybody coming after me. I made a mistake again. I just can't seem to get out of my own way.
Well, that starts with Alexandria. You might want to patch that one up first. The name of the trilogy, PB's Ghost, thank you, is called The Dark Tower. We talk a lot about television shows on here. Man. Yeah, you read The Dark Tower, you ain't watching Thomas the Train anymore.
I got to get like footnotes on this book.
It is. No, you don't. You want to read it. I'm telling you, it is mesmerizing, and it is terrifying.
Lovely.
All of his books are terrifying, or a lot of them are. Some are a little different than others. This one is terrifying. It'll keep you up at night. So thank you very much for PB's Ghost for reminding me what the name of that was. We got our main man coming up here in a second. I mean, demand.
The man.
He is demand. You know, if you talk about the sun rising in the east, right? There are certain things that are for sure. Biden's going to tax you till your eyes are crossed. We know that for sure, okay? And then we know that every time he comes on this show, that our numbers are going to blow up. Everybody and his brother loves watching our main man, and that would be, of course, the one, the only, number one in your hearts, Zim WhoDey. Young man, good morning. You're looking good. That $1 million smile, that souped-up kitchen you got going back there. Man, you must be making some dollars. Hold on. I don't hear him. Do you guys hear him? Hold on. We got Zim WhoDey. We can't hear our man.
Say something, Zim.
No, we can't hear him.
No.
All right, well, let's let you take care of this off the air here.
Yep.
And let's see if we can patch him back in here with our man Zim.
Hey, Zim, I'm not getting any audio levels from you.
For some reason, we're not getting any audio levels from our man Zim. And we got to get that straightened out. Maybe he didn't join with his microphone or something. I'm not quite sure how that stuff works. Anyway, a little bit later on the show, we're going to have some comments made. Yesterday, of course, the Bengals had just about everybody in town to go through a couple of days of workout, some light stuff. There are certain players that were exempt from that because of the extent of their injuries, right? So Awuzie, Lyle Collins, both coming back from ACL injuries. A surprise was Sidney Jones not there. Now, this is a guy, you got to believe the Bengals are counting on. He's basically the guy that's replacing Eli Apple. And look, I know there are a lot of people out there, and trust me, I'm not a big social media guy. I don't like all the smack talking all the time. I like a little bit of it, but, it can go over the edge. And Eli would do that from time to time. But I thought the guy was a good player. Was he a perfect player? No, there's no perfect player. But I thought Apple was a good player. And as much as we talked about Von Bell being gone, about Jesse Bates being gone, and there are others, I think the Eli Apple replacement, in this case Sidney Jones, at least on paper that's who it appears to be, although we'll see if maybe one of the young players they just drafted can step in there. But Jones is a guy they're counting on. We have any luck with him or no?
He's trying to work it out right
Okay. So, him not being here, and again, I don't know what the deal was. Are they saying he was there and just didn't practice?
No, he wasn't there.
Okay, because Steve Ross just said he was there, but don't think he practiced. I thought I read where he wasn't there. And I tell you who else wasn't there, and we talked about this at length yesterday, was Jonah Williams. We went into that whole thing yesterday. But we were going to have some comments a little bit later on from that Joe Burrow made yesterday, everything from his contract to and where all that stands, because that's all everybody was talking about weeks ago, was this Burrow thing's got to get done. It doesn't got to get done. It doesn't have to get done right now. Would he like it done? Yeah. Would the fan base like it done? Of course. Would the Bengals like it done? They would. Apparently, they're negotiating the contract already. They're in negotiations. But there's no – unless Burrow just up and decides, and I don't see Burrow as this kind of guy, where he issues one of those statements where and we've seen hundreds of times, where a player will say, if it doesn't get done before the season – I'm not going to negotiate it during the season. Because, look, anybody that's ever had to negotiate a contract, and I've been through dozens of these in my career, whether it be with a local baseball team that you're announcing their games, the Cubs, the Diamondbacks, the Reds, whether it's a network-level contract like I went through for 25 years with Fox. It does occupy a part of your mind. That's why I've never really felt strongly against players who will say, I don't want to do it during the season for them, especially a guy like Burrow. I mean, he wants laser focus, all in on football. Because what happens is, you'll go do football, in this case, all day long. But there's a part of your mind that's saying, hey, man, where are we on this stuff? And you're picking up the phone and you're calling your agent. It does occupy a part of your mind. Now, are there guys that can, kind of compartmentalize things? I would imagine Burrow's that kind of guy, where he can just say, hey, look, to the agent, I don't even want to talk to you until you have something that you can say, this is what is offered. And now it's your decision to make. Otherwise, don't tell me about some of the things they said about me, and don't tell me some of the things you said to them, because that's when you get into the every other day, every third day, every week kind of thing where it's occupying your mind and your time. But anyway, unless Burrow makes that kind of determination that that's the way he wants this thing handled, that when the season starts, nope, we'll wait till the end of the year. Well, you'd like to think between now and the start of training camp that this is something that can get done. Speaking of, real quick, I know we're having issues with Zim WhoDey here. Does it have anything to do with what you asked me to unplug underneath the desk?
No, it is
Just
not.
want to make sure.
I think we got him now.
All right, we'll get him on in just a second.
Okay, good. So we're still working on him. But just to finish a point, it is not the end of the world if they don't get the Burrow deal done this year. It's not. Okay, they've already picked up a fifth-year option. That was just semantics, okay? Things you have to do. Every team's done it. They did it with Herbert. They did it with Josh Allen at the time. Everybody just does it, and it doesn't mean a thing. Now, how that would affect moving forward, I don't know, because I'm not sharp enough to understand if you don't get it done before a certain date, and now that drifts into if the Bengals were to play in the Super Bowl or get to the championship game, we're good with Zim. Okay, we'll get all that here in a minute. Zim WhoDey, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm sorry about that. I had a little bit of technical difficulties. I hope you guys can hear me pretty clear. Yeah, I'm doing good, man. I feel good.
Well, what's some of the attire you got on there? What do you got going on?
Oh, this is from man. I dropped this one like a year ago. This was the original Shiesty. Like Shiesty showed up to the press conference and he had the Cartiers on or whatever, and I immediately was like, "Let me get to working on this one." So this one was. This is like this when he first unveiled his new chain and stuff. I don't even remember. Somebody probably watching this probably could tell me when I dropped it. It's probably been like a year and a half or so now.
Well, what do you got new coming out for this upcoming season? Are you working on that right now?
Yeah, 100%. I've been working really, really hard on it. I haven't really talked about the clothes at all like in a while, and it's kind of weird too. But
Well,
if you
talk
guys
about it
don't
because
know,
you got great stuff. Talk about it, please.
I got a website. It's called ZimWhoDey.com. It's a line on it called Burrow Babies, but this year's theme is really fun. I feel like I got two designs I couldn't drop because we didn't win at Burrowhead, so I got those sitting right there to the side. And then I got this whole idea of like why people fear the Bengals being really good. So I'm having some fun with it about like I think at some point we're gonna win so much they're just gonna be like, bro, like it's aliens. Like if the Bengals win a Super Bowl, people are going to freak out. Y'all know that, right? Like because they're already freaking out. Like just the Bengals having two really good seasons. So like I have this thought process that it's like this fear of like an orange planet, and that's where I'm at.
All right, look, we got a lot of people. Look, there are a lot of. I'm not going to call them haters, but there are a lot of people that love to say, "Oh man, you made this comment. Turns out, maybe that wasn't the case. You were talking a while back about Higgins and his contract. It looks like that thing has not been done yet. Where it stands, really, at the end of the day, only Higgins, the team, and his agent know the deal." Do you have any comment on that at all, or are you still standing by the deal that you think it's getting done?
I mean, I always feel like it's going to get done, but I feel like that's not me being a prophet. Like, I feel like the average Bengal fan, you could pay attention to even. I'm pretty sure people got the video from yesterday. He's almost talking like in past tense to say, I always wanted to be a Bengal. And it's good to be somewhere where people like you and stuff. And one thing I thought that, coming out of this, I've talked to people before, or I've told Twitter about people, like even this off season about like Travion Williams being signed or like Foster Moreau coming for a visit, all these different things. But I think I hadn't done it to an athlete of this magnitude. And I think I just underestimated me writing one tweet with like, what is it, like 7, 8 words? I just really underestimated that. And I think out of my private conversations, and I guess this is a form of like reporting or whatever too, it's like just because you heard it, just because you might even saw it, there's other things that you can't really control too. So like immediately after I did that tweet, there are people that were behind it that were putting dates and stuff on it, doing all this other stuff that I couldn't, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
then you were giving me an intro and you were like, man, everybody like. I was talking to my mom about this the other day. I was like, I never knew that me liking the Bengals would make me like this polarizing figure. And I feel like it's more like it don't even really have nothing to do with T. Higgins to me. Like if you read like most of the comments or like people will send me stuff, because I don't really read like all that crap. But it's always about like, aha, tell them that you didn't get it right. It's not even about like T. Higgins, because I will hope a Bengals fans want the deal to be done, right?
Yeah.
So that's the part. I think it's more about like, how did this guy do all of this stuff? Like, like how does he connect with Tom Brennaman? How does he have Tom Brennaman on his draft party? Like, like those are the things that people don't say. And you've been in this business for a long time. I find it funny, or I think it's crazy. You could do so many good things.
Yep.
You could break so many different things. But the minute that they think that they got you, or the minute that they show like any form of weakness or something, they're like, ha ha.
Yep.
And they're retweeting those things. But think about all the different things that you covered. Think about all the things that you've done. When you had, like your moment, where people were down on you, people retweet that. People are pushing that more than anything that you've ever done, and it kind of like takes away all the good that you've done. And I feel like that's anybody in the world, like, and it's kind of crazy that the internet's like that. But who knew one tweet would turn into like this thing with pitchforks? Like, aha, we got him. But I do think that he. Let me say this. Go back to T. Higgins real quick. A couple different things. Imagine this. So first and foremost, everybody that knows me knows that T. Higgins and all these different people, we talk to him regularly on our Twitter Spaces. So that's not a thing. So like, I think people need to like move out the way with that. The other thing is this: he could say, "My agent says that, yeah, whatever I want to do or whatever." But check this out. Imagine that the conversations weren't good. Imagine that the conversations were sour. Bengals fans got to understand, bro is about to play in a contract year. Like, hypothetically, they could pick up his franchise tag, but the risk versus reward, it's a pretty steep risk if you go out there. The conversations will have to be good, right? And then one thing that people weren't privy to is when I made that tweet, that actual negotiations were going on at that moment. I don't know if people were even thinking about that at that time, and I don't think people really talk about that. So I just want to say that, though, like, if they weren't well or they weren't good, he wouldn't show up at the facility. I don't care what that thing, like, whatever he said.
I think that's a legitimate point. And I think that's something that maybe many of us, me included, don't think of it that way, because how many times have we seen in the past where a guy wants to be paid? And look, everybody wants to be paid. I don't have a problem with guys getting paid. God bless them all. I hope everybody in the world makes as much money as they can every day of their lives, right?
Right.
But the fact that he's here just speaks volumes about kind of where he is with this franchise. We've seen it 1,000 times where guys will be like, oh, man, I'm not getting this deal. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. I'm not coming to this voluntary thing, because he doesn't have to be here. And yet he's out there running around yesterday with Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon and dunking footballs into basketball hoops and all the rest. I mean, it was great stuff.
Right.
It's great video. All right, so, look, I want to get your thoughts.
Don't you think that that's kind of like a big focal point? Like, imagine, just give people a scenario real quick. Say that you're my agent right now, and say the contract weren't going well. You think that you would tell me to go up to Paycor Stadium and just, like, if it was that far apart or it wasn't going good or everything wasn't in place or at least parameters or whatever weren't set, like, in my mind, if you were my agent, you would say, yeah, don't go up there. We need to gain back. We need to show them that we mean business.
Well, I mean, I think there are agents out there that do that kind of thing. You know, I've made the argument.
You know who his agent is?
Well, I know Jesse Bates' agent. I know that. But you know, I've made the argument when it comes to a guy like Williams. Okay, so you know, T is handled, and his agent, even though they had the thing with Jesse Bates, that's fine with the Bengals. You don't read anything about it. It's under the radar. Everything's quiet. Everything's cool. He's here. He's in town. The Williams thing, you know, I made the comment yesterday, Zim. I just feel like you've got a player who's going to make a lot of money this coming year. He's been a good player for you since you drafted. He may not be a great player. He may not be everything that everybody wants, you know, and Anthony Munoz at left tackle, right, or Willie Anderson or somebody. But, I mean, Jonah Williams has been a very good player for this franchise. Okay, they bring in Orlando Brown Jr. Now he's going over to right tackle. It's a brand new position for him. He's never played it before. I have a big issue with him not being here. You know, I didn't like the timing of demanding a trade right after the Brown signing and all that kind of thing. But look, I'm not in the middle of it. I don't know all the details. But I just feel like Williams should be here. What do you think?
I feel like me and you are in the minority, according to Twitter and social media, because you can't pay nobody to talk about that situation. And it's crazy, when the whole Mixon thing was going around, I remember I came on your show. You said, hey, I thought Mixon was the best player on the field in that Bills game, right? And then when we go to the off season, I think there's so many different things swirling around the Jonah Williams thing. Is he good? Giving up sacks. You got the argument of 2021, argument of he probably was the best offensive lineman going on that Super Bowl team versus the talent level and offensive level now. But the couple things that we do know is that Mixon was one of the guys that said, I'll do whatever it takes to play for this team, and he bleeds black and orange. And that's not to say that Jonah doesn't, but I just find it super crazy or hypocritical when people were really, really piling on the Mixon thing. They had nothing to say about Jonah except like, oh, well, we don't control that. He's got to get traded. Well, damn it, explore some options. Like that, like that's what I was doing. You know, like I don't think if you're talking about a championship level team, it's so funny. I was watching a Draymond Green interview or something this morning. He said, I think we weren't in it because of the thing that happened with me and Poole, where he punches him and you know, before the season. And that's so long ago in our minds because the cycle of news. But everything is about cohesive parts and people that really buy in and want to be a part of it. And I feel I'm a big proponent of that. I know that Jonah, I don't know him personally. I've never talked to him or anything. I think that he loves football, though. And if you love football, I think you'd be like T. Higgins, whether his agent said, I think you should go or don't, I think you just show up. Maybe the knee surgery, you're like, man, I don't feel too great about it. At least I would show up at a facility and go through some stuff, get acclimated, start talking to some players. Even if you're not doing this stuff, like, what harm could that do? Because even if you get traded, it just shows the other team that, hey, look, I'm going to be a team player no matter what. You can at least fake it. Like, when we go to our jobs and stuff, like, sometimes you're in situations you don't like. You just fake it a little bit. You know what I mean? So,
all right, well, let me ask you this. If we're going to sit here and we, I think there's something to be said for Mixon showing up all the time. He has a contract. He's living up to the contract. It's not been a good offseason for him, at least, reputation-wise, whatever's right, wrong, truth, fact, false, I don't know. We'll all find out one day. But he's here. Higgins, we've talked about, he's here. Williams is not here. We know why Awuzie and Lyle Collins are not here. But what about Tyler Boyd?
This is the thing. Bengals fans, you got to look at, like, the Quentin Williams of the world right now. All these guys that are lobbying for, like, I need to get paid right now and stop living in well, that ain't going to happen to me. Like, I'm not saying that Tyler Boyd is sitting there saying I need to get paid, but he's in a contract year. So the risk that is associated with it, even T. Higgins, if I'm his agent, I'm probably telling them, Tyler Boyd or whatever, I don't know their situation, but I'm saying, like, you're taking a bit of a risk from a leverage standpoint, and you're also taking a risk on these workouts. If something were to happen to you, you're not going to get the same value in the open market because of the injury that's associated to it. And that's a risk that you had to take. And a lot of guys like Jesse
Yeah, but Zim, hang on, man. I mean, these guys are flipping footballs at each other and dunking them like basketballs. I mean, they're not out there going 7-on-7 or 11-on-11 with a bunch of contact. These guys are running around like you and I would be every single day of the – well, not like you and I. Maybe you, not me.
I think the workout is different when you control what you want to control. Opposed to if you go to the facility and your coaches are saying, all right, line it up. We're about to go run this drill. Whereas, like, you might have a trainer and say, hey, look, we're going to do lifting all this week. I'm doing some light conditioning. I'm doing cardio this week. You're controlling what you want to control. You don't have to go to the facility and have coaches tell you what to do. And in a contract year, to me, that's important.
All right. Good enough. All right. Anything else on your mind with the Bengalis? You like the culture. You like the vibe. You like what's going on. You like the draft. You're in a good place.
I'm in a really good place, man. I feel good. If the Bengals are healthy, you're going to just see me coming on here every single week, just telling you, like, I mean, come on, bro. Like, we're dominant now. Like, I don't get this. Like, I just think that people are living in what it used to be or something like that. Like, they're the most talented top 2 team in football. Like, I understand the Chiefs did win that game. But the only team on paper or in our faces that we've actually seen that have more talent are probably the Philadelphia Eagles right now. It's not the Kansas City Chiefs in that regard of talent. Now, can Mahomes close that. Like, sure, because he's an amazing quarterback, right? But like, man, look at the defensive line depth. Like, you're talking about your seventh, eighth guy is like, like Cam Samples of the world that could start and get a good like look at every single position group. The wide receiver 4, Yoshavas, or wide receiver 5, or Charlie Jones or whatever, will be a wide receiver 3 on 75% of the NFL.
Can't
Look
argue
at the
that.
linebacker. Look at the linebacker core. Akeem Davis Gaither at linebacker 3 will be a linebacker 2 in 75% of the NFL.
Good point.
The safety position is a bit of a variable, but check this out. When people talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and they talk about like what they did in terms of their draft and stuff, and they just loaded up their secondary, yeah, they did it with a bunch of 7th-round guys and guys that went to HBCUs and all these different, back into the draft guys. Bro, like the backups are DJ Turner, a 2nd-round guy that would have been a 1st-round, like he was a fringe 1st-round pick. You got guys like Tyson Anderson that are like last man off the bench, or Sidney Jones that have started at different places like now in these roles, and then you got these young guys like now stepping up like the Dax Hills of the world. These are 1st-round picks. Like and that will be considered like the weakness of the Bengals. Show me that team that has that. Like that's my point. Outside of the Philadelphia Eagles, I just don't see like the talent levels all around the team. It's all about Bengals being healthy. The Bengals are healthy. You got to think Joe Burrow's stronger, bigger, faster. Jamar Chase is the strongest wide receiver in the National Football League. He's not even in his prime. T. Higgins not even in his prime. Like the guys that we're talking about, they haven't even got to like their full potential.
Yep.
And we're ready to go.
All right. I got to tell you, though, before I let you go, and I know Casey McAllister uses the word to describe him all the time as stink. I got to tell you, the team that is starting, I think, to make a serious challenge to the Bengals, the Cleveland Browns. Okay, you say whatever you want. I mean, they go get Zadarius Smith. They've already got Garrett. They get Dalvin Thompson. They've got stars all over the field on defense. They've got Deshaun Watson, who, whether you like the guy or don't like the guy, when he was able to go through year by year, off-season, working out at a team's facility all the years with the Texans, he was considered to be one of the 3 or 4 top guys in the league. They got Chubb. They got a very good offensive line. They've got some wide receivers. You're sitting there grinning like I'm a madman. I'm telling you, I know they're the Browns, and they'll find a way to screw it up probably. But I'm telling you, they're making some noise.
I think this is an Ohio thing or something like that. Because where I'm sitting at, I see a 7-8 win team. Just go through three things real quick. Three things real quick. What do you think is the biggest strength of the Cleveland Browns in years past? What would that be?
Well, it'd be their run game and their offensive line.
So if you're telling me Deshaun Watson is now like some superhero that's like has vibranium on his skill.
Wait a minute, Zim. Wait a minute now. I bet you if you and I, this show didn't exist, you were around and going strong already. But I would bet money that 2 or 3 years ago you were saying Watson was great.
Yes, and he still is. But if you're telling me that Watson is now going to be throwing the football more to utilize what makes him a point of strength. His accuracy is really pretty good when he's not rusty. And he can move, he's mobile, all these different things. He's an excellent quarterback. But if you're telling me that that's the strength of the team is running the football, I'm now taking the ball out of his hands, and out of Nick Chubb's hands, and now that's 6 to 8 less carries a game. That works in the Bengals' favor because those are the things that I think that hurt us the most. Also, secondly, they've done nothing from the linebacker position to cover us out in the flats, and I still don't believe in any of their linebacking core. I don't believe in their secondary. Their secondary, the last time that we saw them with no T. Higgins, no Tyler Boyd, and Hayden Hurst, what did Jamar Chase do to him when he got a full game on him? 10 catches, 120 yards, and nobody could stop him. Denzel Ward is probably one concussion away from being like maybe they're looking at him like with a crazy magnifying glass. The guy Newsom, he requested a trade this all season. I could go all around the board, and they still can't stop the run. All those different things that they did, bringing in pass rushes and stuff like that, they were still one of the worst run defense teams in the National Football League.
Yes, they were.
I'm telling you that this is an Ohio thing that I think the reluctancy to say that they're trash, I get that. But you probably know like some Cleveland Browns fans that might give you some hell. Whereas I don't got any Cleveland Brown friends that I'm worried about at all. And I really just think I think you want to be respectful to your Cleveland, your
I
Ohio
don't
brother.
at all. I could care less about the place. I really don't.
You think Cleveland Browns are better than the Baltimore Ravens?
You know what? I don't want to say that. I don't. But I think there are far bigger questions. And you got to agree with me on this. There are far bigger questions about the Ravens' defense than there is about Cleveland's defense as far as what they've tried to do to address their problems. Now, look, Zadarius Smith starts out last year. I think he had 7 sacks in the first 9 games, right? Then he hurts his knee, and I think he only had 1.5 sacks the rest of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Off the top of my head, I think that's right. Okay, but at least their run defense stunk, talking about the Browns. They go get Thompson. They bring in some other guys that look like that could make an impact in addressing it. The Ravens, because they've basically been financially strapped because of this whole Lamar thing and everything going on, I know they're taking a flyer on OBJ. We'll see how that plays out. But they've done nothing to address the concerns of their defense.
I would just say that just talking to the players, like on the team. Sorry, guys, I'm not trying to be an insider. If you were to ask a Bengals player, like it's the Ravens. The Ravens defense is more like now you do raise a good point. I worry about their bench and I worry about, the health and everything like that. Those are things. But as it stands, their starting lineup is built to stop the Bengals. Like
There's
as
no
far
doubt.
as their defense go.
Yep.
Like the speed of Queen, you didn't go and draft I thought Trenton Simpson was probably one of the best linebackers in the draft, if not the best. You go get speed with him, then you got Owe, you got all these guys that can cover in the flats and take away all those little dump off that Joe Burrow has to take in the checkdowns. Then you got an all-pro corner out there, a real all-pro corner in Marlon Humphrey. Now the other side, sure, they don't know their CB2. They got Rocket Center or something like that. But then they got one of the best safeties in the draft last year with Kyle Hamilton. And they got Marcus Williams, who is probably one of the best outfielders in football, so you really can't push the football down the field. Then their run defense is at the top of the NFL.
Yep.
The Baltimore Ravens defense is at the end of that season last year was the best defense in football.
Yes,
outside
it
of
was.
Maybe the 49ers. Now, offensively, they're going to have some question marks, but the lightning bolt energy of a Lamar Jackson paired up with some legit, I thought Zay Flowers was one of the best route runners in this draft. So, health is a thing for them, but I think that the Ravens are when I look at them from the outside looking in, that's a 10 to 12 win team. The Browns, from my viewpoint, like I said, I'm not in Ohio. I get it. That's like a 7 to 9 win team, fringe 9. And it's because there's so many holes in the run defense, the linebackers, and then the availability in that secondary got cooked last year. I don't know why people are trying to build that secondary up. I promise you, if we play them week 1 and our wide receivers out there, I'll give you fireworks.
All right. Okay. So you're taking the early line. You're taking the Bengals, giving 2.5 up there in Cleveland, I think it was, for the early line on Betfred Sports.
You're darn tootin'.
Zim, we love you, my man. You have a great rest of your day. Thanks for your time today, as always.
Great show right there. We covered a lot. Good.
You got it covered.
Good
We always get it covered with Zim WhoDey.
Good talk.
ZimWhoDey.com. Check it out. All the apparel, everything you need to know. Right? There it is.
Shiesty.
All right. We thank Zim for his time. He's the best. I love the guy. Love the guy. He's a good dude. But, of course, I knew you were chomping at the bit, Casey. I'm telling you, you know what's interesting is, and again, it's kind of like it's all so subjective. We try to make it objective. and it's hard to do. But, like the guys at The Athletic, right? Paul Dehner Jr. covered football for a long, long time. He thinks the Bengals' biggest competition inside the AFC North is going to be Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, huh?
I still maintain, even though I just said what I said about the Browns, I think the Browns are going to be a lot better. I still maintain the biggest competition is going to be Baltimore.
I could get behind Pittsburgh being the team that is the scariest. But it really just depends on second-year Kenny Pickett. I mean, if he's Andy Dalton, that defense is scary. I don't know, man. What are your thoughts?
I'm over the whole Browns thing. I'll be honest. I'm over it. I'm over it already, and we still got 4 months to go to get there.
I mean, they win the offseason every year. Every year. For like the past 5 years. They've won the offseason. Super Bowl bound. Now, the Browns fans, I will say, have been very quiet as of late.
You think they're resting on it? You think they don't want to get over their skis?
I think they've learned their lesson for the last couple times, and there's something about karma, something about that they're starting to become more humble and realizing that they should just relish in the stink, and maybe they'll break out of it. Maybe. It's going to take a lot for that to happen, though.
Okay. All right. Well, you're right. Paul hit it. We got months to talk about it. Months and months and months to talk about it. One thing we have not talked about today, let's circle back. We talked with Marty Brennaman at length about the Reds and about, Williamson coming up, pitching so well last night. Lodolo, when you start talking about injuries from the waist down, okay, and you start talking about specifically groin or hamstring, not so much knee, because with a knee, you either know it is what it is, right? You tore a MCL, you tore an ACL, you tear a I've had two surgeries on each knee with why am I drawing a blank? It's an arthroscopic surgery. I mean, and you get back, and for athletes with all the health care they have access to, you can get back much quicker. Meniscus tear. But groin, hamstring, quad, calf, and then feet with plantar fascia, things like that. When somebody tells you a guy is going to be out a month with a calf injury, don't hold your breath on stuff like that. I think Lodolo, and I hope I'm 100% wrong, I hope that the guy is able to come back, like they're saying, in a month, because I think he's got a chance to be a really, really good pitcher. But, now all of a sudden, for the first time, if he's out, let's say it's a month. So you went from having the big three, and there are ups and downs, a lot more ups and downs. You got the big three, and then we wondered about 4 and 5. Well, I think Luke Weaver, we all agree, has done a nice job filling in on that 4 spot. He deserved better than what happened to him the other day. The defense was terrible in that game for him. Cost him 3 outs in the game and a lot of pitches and some runs. He deserved better. He's been better than they got from Overton or Sessa. Now they get Williamson up here. Paul, do you see them? Okay, they've made the McLean move, right? They've made, out of necessity, the Williamson move because of the injury to Lodolo, right? Do you see them now in a mode where they're saying, you know what, why wait till August and September? Over the next month, we're getting Abbott up here. We're going to get Encarnacion Strand up here, although I don't have any idea where they're going to play him. Because everybody's saying Steer is a better first baseman than he is a third baseman, right? I heard Jeff Brantley say on the radio the other night, by far the best third baseman the franchise has in the entire organization is Nick Senzel. And he's actually playing very, very well, right?
Yeah.
And he's still young enough where you can look at him as a core guy moving forward if he can stay healthy all year and play, right? So it's one thing to say they're going to come up here, but then once they get up here, where are you going to play them?
Yeah, there's a logjam. And then what about Andrew Abbott, too? I mean, he's...
Well, yeah, of course.
He's
He's the next one on the list.
It seems like that's the answer, right? It seems like Abbott's the next one to get the call up here. But, yeah, for as well as Nick Senzel is playing right now, look at again, last night, home run. I mean, Nick Senzel is having himself quite the year. And it's nice. Isn't it nice, Tom, seeing a guy like Senzel who has struggled at points in his career, finally starting to put something together? I mean, it is really nice to see him going out there. And for all the hype that Nick Senzel had coming up to the Reds originally, everything that we heard about him through the minor league system for years, to get up to the major leagues, struggle, but now to find a home and to really be, taking the bull by the horns this year, it's good. It's really good to see. I enjoy seeing this out of a guy like that and finally overcoming some of those struggles that he had earlier on in his career.
There's no doubt about it. And I've talked about it on this show. And look, okay? This is where the biggest key in all of this player talk about who's coming up, who's going to play where. I thought my dad brought up a phenomenal point about De La Cruz. He's 6'5", and I'm not sure the dude's done growing. He's still young enough. It would not surprise me if he's an inch taller in a year and a half from now. He's that young. He's certainly going to put on. I mean, if he eats right and he's a quote-unquote gym rat who likes getting in that weight room and likes, doing all this stuff, easily on that frame, a solid 10 to 17 more pounds, okay? So now you're talking about a guy, let's say right now they have him listed at 6'5", 200. I could see him being 6'5", 214 in a year. Right?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to play that guy shortstop every day? The two biggest physical guys that I can remember playing shortstop were Cal Ripken Jr., big guy, not De La Cruz big, but a big guy. Alex Rodriguez. They immediately moved him off of shortstop and got him to third. Immediately. Right?
O'Neal Cruz in Pittsburgh is like 6'8",
Yeah,
6'7".
I'm talking about a legitimate long-term, guy,
Yeah.
big-time guy.
6'7", maybe?
Doesn't have to be a Hall of Fame guy. But I'm saying that De La Cruz, but look, here's the point I'm getting at. The X factor in all of this is Jonathan India. Because right now, he is the second baseman. He is having a nice year. He's a very popular player. I mean, for Reds fans, you don't have a lot to grasp, okay? And he is the most flamboyant. He's got the hair. He's good looking, great smile, good hitter, plays hard, cares, passionate player, all the things you want in a guy, okay? So those are all the positives. And there's a lot to like. I think the jury's still out on him as an offensive player. Let's see. He had a really good rookie year. He had a brutal year last year, which you could, say, okay, he had some bumps and bruises and nicks and injuries, and fine. Off to a good start, month and a half this year. Let's see how it plays out. But one thing that can't be denied. Statistically, he was the worst defensive second baseman in baseball last year. And he's right in that neighborhood through a month and a half this year. Okay? So you face I would say, a tough spot here Because let's just say, for the sake of argument, and I wasn't in Arizona in spring training. I don't know if Jonathan India went into the outfield and practiced during batting practice or worked out with an outfield instructor on starting to acclimate himself to becoming, or the possibility of him becoming an outfielder. I don't know if he did that. I don't know if Eric Davis or somebody like that had Ellie De La Cruz taking fly balls in center field and trying to learn. Now, De La Cruz has played some third. He's played some short. I don't know if the Reds would think about the pressure of bringing him to the big leagues and, oh, by the way, you're playing a new position. But here's a dilemma you have. Everybody is screaming for, sooner or later, McLean's already here, sooner or later bringing De La Cruz up here. If you bring up De La Cruz, where are you playing him? If you're going to play him at short, where's McLean playing? Now, he's played some third, too. But Senzel's the best player you have defensively at third. You've already moved Steer from third over to first. He can still play third, of course. But nobody is taking the natural progression of this would be for, if you're going to bring De La Cruz up, is you play him at short and you move McLean, okay, to second base. All right, well, you're going to sit down India, who's been your best offensive player so far this year? No. So for people who are screaming and yelling about bringing up all the young guys, and I'm all in on it. I'm all in. What have they got to lose? If a guy can be brought up here and you're worried about him mentally failing, well, then he shouldn't even be in your franchise. If you've got a bunch of soft mental players that you're concerned about their well-being, should they come up to the big leagues and fail, then get them out of here and trade them now. But if you believe they have the wherewithal to come up here and compete, they're not going to win every time. The best players win 3 out of 10 times offensively. If you believe that mentally they can come up here and compete and hang in there and deal with failure because it's going to come, it doesn't matter who it is, then I'm all in for getting them up here. What do you got to lose? You're going to put more fans in the stands. You're going to have better talented players playing with a major league club. Doesn't mean they're going to succeed, but the talent level increases dramatically by getting some of these guys up here. The problem is, where are you going to play them? You can't bring up De La Cruz. You can't bring up Strand. Okay? You can't bring those guys up and have them sit there and watch. They got to play. But where are they going to play? Steer's still a young guy. You going to give up on him?
Nope.
Paul, what are you going to do?
I don't know. It really is a dilemma, and you see the starting lineup here. Matt McLean not playing today.
Okay, he's played his first 2 games.
I'm assuming
in the big leagues.
Yeah. I wouldn't read too much into that.
No.
You played 2 major league games, you get 2 days off heading into a Yankees series. That's not crazy, right?
No. Not at all. I know there are a lot of people that are going to go off the rails on that today. I got no problem with that. None. Barrero's still a young guy. You don't want to just throw him to the, we talked about this earlier already. Get him in there, day game after a night game. Barrero's in, McLean's off. That means he gets 2 days off, right? After his first 2, all the emotions, everything, first 2 days in the big leagues. He's got to come back here. He's got to find a place to live, probably going to be in a hotel and all that sort of nonsense. His stuff is probably still in a bunch of bags that he threw together when he found he was coming up, right? All right. He'll be ready to go Friday night. He'll be in the line.
How does all that work, Tom, with lodging and everything else? Because the travel secretary and everybody's got to go into all of that. That's got to be a crazy situation for some of these guys that are going up and down, right?
I'll get into that in a second. I'm asking you real quick, because you're a baseball guy, right? And you want to see the young guys up here. All right, what are you going to do? I mean, Encarnacion Strand is not going to cover off the ball, right?
No.
Now, he strikes out a lot. And I brought this up before. You know, him and De La Cruz, they strike out a lot. But, okay, we live in a day and age where not as big a deal. But I'm just saying, what if you bring De La Cruz and Encarnacion Strand up here? What are you going to do?
Do you throw Encarnacion Strand in the outfield?
Hey, guys, I just want to also mention that India was DHing. He's no longer playing second base tonight. So that's the other big thing about the starting lineup.
Oh, Kevin Newman?
Kevin Newman.
Is that who's playing second?
There's another one where guys go off the rails when he's in a lineup. And you know what? I don't blame him. Newman's not a part of the future of this team as a regular player.
So why is he in the starting lineup?
I'm telling you, it's a day game after a night game. They just want to get some guys in who are not going to be playing a lot now with the influx of this talent.
I think
I've seen every great manager in baseball do it forever. So have you.
I think the only person I see on Twitter consistently supporting Kevin Newman is Trace Fowler. Everybody else screams about him. At least Trace is in Kevin Newman's corner. Because I don't know if Kevin Newman has many other supporters, but our guy Trace is. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, he's all in.
He's all in on Kevin Newman. But yeah, maybe you move a guy like CES into the outfield. I don't know. At some point, you're going to have to throw somebody in the out. Somebody here is going to have to learn how to play a corner outfield position. Somebody is. Because you can't fit everybody in the infield, and none of them are big enough to play first base.
And see, that's the thing. When you look at the Reds and their top prospects, okay, they don't have any prospects that are outfielders. With all the talk about the Reds and where they rank on an organizational standpoint, their best outfielders are all the way down, well, just up the road in Dayton. They don't have a guy in AA or AAA that they're eyeing as being a regular, everyday major league outfielder. They don't. Okay? And from an athleticism standpoint, guys like Steer, guys like Encarnacion Strand. I mean, Adam Dunn played the outfield, so maybe anybody can play the outfield.
True.
I mean, there was a time he was a great athlete, but as his career went on, he got big, he got overweight. You know, he was not a good outfielder, and a lot of teams have those kind of plotters out there on a corner.
Barry Bonds played left field.
Yeah, but that was a little different animal.
Yeah, a little different animal.
A little different ball game. But I just don't know what they're going to do. And I don't have the answers. I'm not sitting here picking on anybody else. I don't know what I would do.
But in general, somebody here has to learn how to play a corner outfield, right? That's the answer here. Because you're not going to fit everybody on the infield.
Sorry, this is teaching Casey moment. Why not center field? Why are you saying corner?
Center field's generally, center field's a quarterback of the outfield. It's a little different than just sticking somebody in left. And
so, like, for a guy like Matt McClain, who's uber fast, talented, like, why couldn't?
I mean, yeah, potentially. But Nick Senzel also played center field, and it was now he's doing it. Center field's a little tougher to just throw a guy out there.
Very tough.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to be an athlete to play center field.
That sounds like Matt McClain, right? Not that
I think more De La Cruz.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little tougher to just send a guy out to center field than it is to send him into one of the corner outfield spots.
Okay.
When you see like angles coming off a bat, communicating with two different outfielders, playing the entire outfield, everything.
Yeah,
it's a little different.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify that. I didn't know, like,
if you're playing in center field, you're reading spins off the bat, you're reading different angles off the bat, a whole lot different than if you're just playing in left.
Like, we needed someone to play there for spring training. Like, that's what the argument is for India.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little different than if you just stick a guy in left field and you know that off the bat it's always going to tail the same way.
Okay, but
in general.
All right, look, if they made the decision, they being the Reds, I mean, these are the things that separate the great general managers or president of baseball operations, Okay, these are the things that separate the mediocre guys from the great guys, right? Is being able to look into the future and ask the question, okay, what if? Now let's go back to spring training this year. And shame on me for not exploring a little bit more about this. I should have, and I'm going to start looking into it now that this is becoming more and more a possibility. The Reds baseball operations people, for my money, okay, and it's just one man's opinion, they should have been looking at all of the possibilities that could happen as the 2023 baseball season proceeds. They should have been looking at the possibility of having on your major league roster, okay, India, Steer, Encarnacion Strand, De La Cruz, McLean. Now, you knew India was going to be there. The rest of them, you weren't sure. Steer wins a third base job coming out of spring training. But India, De La Cruz, not so much McLean. India, De La Cruz, Steer, they did it. Played some third. Didn't look good in spring training. Season started. All of a sudden, he wasn't bad down at third. And in fairness to the Reds, if they would have dismissed the possibility of Senzel even being a part of this team, I wouldn't have blamed him. Because the cat just can't stay on the field. And when he has played, he hadn't been very good. And he was injured. And he was coming back from surgery. So, and even if he does become a part of your team, you have seen him play multiple positions. He's already proven to you, good, bad, or indifferent, that he can at least go do it. He's not going to embarrass himself anywhere you play him. But now all of a sudden, those things with De La Cruz and India in particular should have been addressed in spring training. And maybe they were, and I don't know about it. But the possibility of having all of those guys on your active major league roster, whether it was going to be in May, whether it's going to be in June, whether it was going to be August and September. And where are we going to play them? All right, now here's another one. Joey Votto's taking ground balls yesterday. You've already moved Steer from third to first because Senzel is playing so well.
Yep.
If the Reds are 4 or 5 games out of first place and Steer continues to have a good offensive season, Joey Votto's in the last year of his contract. One of the most legendary players in the history of the franchise. Very popular player. Somewhat of a polarizing player. You going to keep Encarnacion Strand down there if he's not going to cover off the ball? You going to play Votto in place of Steer? If Steer's having a good year, hitting 270, you get to August, he's got 14 bombs. He's knocked in 50, 55 runs. You going to sit him down? To get Votto in there and played all year long? To have his quote-unquote farewell tour? What are you doing? Again, things you have to think about. And that was right there front and center for Votto because he had 2 very serious surgeries, right? What are you going to do?
I think I still keep coming back to the situation with Joey Votto and asking myself the question if we've seen the last of him. I still can't get over. I can't get this nagging thought out of the back of my head, wondering if Joey's career is done in Cincinnati. If this injury, I know we talk about him seeing the rehab and everything. I don't know. These things linger, and then these guys get called up. What if the Reds are competitive? Are you really going to throw Joey back in there? If the Reds are really going to do this thing, which I don't know if they are, because they got a lot of flaws. It's just like what Charlie Goldsmith said the other day. They can't really defend. They've got a lot of hitting issues. Their pitching depth isn't great. They got a lot of detractors.
Man, it sounds like everything's wrong.
They got a lot of detractors. But somehow, some way, they're still tied with the Cubs in the NL Central. They're still 4 games under 500.
I agree.
And they're hanging around. So if they keep just hanging around for another month and a half, 2 months, and then all of a sudden Joey Votto's ready to go, and you got these guys clicking, you gonna throw them in there? David Bell gonna do that? All of these things could resolve themselves by July 25th if the Reds are 15 games below 500 and they're 15 games out of first place, and it doesn't matter.
But let me ask you this, though. I mean, you say that, and I don't mean to interrupt your train of thought here, okay?
That's fine.
But when you look at their team right now, we know they're a bad defensive team. They've hit better than we thought they would hit. I mean, by far. A lot better than I thought they'd hit. Right? Their bullpen has been great. Now, does that last very long as the innings pile up? I don't know. We'll find out soon enough. You'd like to think, if you're going to use age as an excuse for being up and down, seems to me it'd be logical to say, okay, as you continue to gain more experience, there's a chance you can get better, right? All right, so maybe Green gets better. Maybe Lodolo gets back and gets better. Maybe Ashcraft continues to get better. Maybe Weaver's not a bad guy to have in that 5 hole, because that's where he would go if Williamson were to get better. And I know it's only 1 game. I'm not going to get carried away here. But when you look at the rest of that division, you just said, what, July 15th, July 31st?
Just call it July 20th.
All right, July 20th. Is it conceivable? Of course it's conceivable. But when you look at the rest of this division, do you see the Reds being 15 games out in 2 months from now? It's conceivable. But I can see a lot more reasons why they won't be 15 out than they would be.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's a good problem to have for the first time in a long time with this franchise, because you've got talented players that they're bringing to the big leagues. Theoretically, it's the best crop they've had since they brought up Frazier, Bruce, that whole crew that came. Drew Stubbs, to a lesser extent. Stubbs was a good player for this team. He wasn't a great player, but a good, solid player, excellent outfielder. Could run, could do a few things for you. I just wonder, when you look at getting back to today, getting back to the more immediacy of today. You're 4.5 games, 5 games out of first place. Some might say, Tommy, it's only May. Okay, I get it. But by playing Barrero and Newman today, are you kind of just saying, oh, well, today's just today? Day game after a night game? Rather than putting your best players on the field. Is that giving away a game? Don't you like your chances of winning a game today with Ashcraft on the mound and putting out your best group when he's on the mound? Is that a stretch? Okay.
I see your point, though, about Ashcraft. I think you're spot on with that, especially when you're trotting out these starting pitchers that you think over and over again are going to be the guys that you need to win the games when they start. So why not go out there and try to win the games when they start? Now, I know it's Colorado, so it's a little wonky, but either way, Kevin Newman, second base.
I'm not going to beat down Newman.
Tom, maybe one of these shows we actually get you to do what you think the 2024 starting lineup is, from catcher, pitcher, first base, second base, third base, left, right, center, shortstop. Just see what you think from what talent they have on the roster right now, guys that they could call up And maybe we'll do that as a segment sometime, because I think it is a really good and an interesting question. I was just sitting here trying to figure it out myself, and it's a logjam. I don't know what to do about it.
And it's so funny, just from a macro level, looking at this and thinking about where are these guys going to play? How much talent do these guys have? It's not like the Reds are instantly competing for a World Series if you bring all of these guys up.
There's no doubt.
Don't say that. They might.
They might. It's not like the Reds are instantly in 2023 going to compete for a title if they bring all of these guys up. So it is a little funny to take a step back and think, man, they just can't find a spot for all these guys. There's just too much talent on the field. There is, and it's true, but at the same time, it is a little funny to take it with a grain of salt and think to yourself, do they really have that much talent that they can't somehow, some way, someone in that front office or in the clubhouse can't figure out a way to make all this work and get these guys in the lineup? Well, somebody's going to get traded.
It's just a matter of who then?
It's a matter of who. And the right match for any given team. You know, one franchise might feel it needs a second baseman, and they might want to give you, they might be a team that's willing to say, you know what, I can live with a guy's defense. I'm all in. We need India to get over the hump. One team might say, I need a power hitter or a good hitter, and I'm going to give you some good stuff for Steer or Encarnacion Strand or somebody. Somebody's getting traded. There's not room for all of them. You know, you just said, Paul, something for me. The guy that concerns me, and the guy that worries me is Stevenson. More than any of them. Because I would have bet a lot of money, and maybe, maybe it'll still turn out to be the case. I would have bet a lot of money that says, Stevenson is going to be a really good offensive player. Last year, before he got hurt, we are looking at roughly the same number of at-bats last year when he was healthy before he got hurt compared to this year where he went into the offseason and into the regular season coming off the injury healthy. Same number of at-bats, roughly 20 more last year than he has right now. Last year, he hit .319 with 6 home runs, 9 doubles, and 35 knocked in. 6, 35, .319, on-base percentage .372, slugging percentage almost .490. This year, .257 batter, 2 home runs and 148 at-bats with 16 batted in and 7 doubles. So he had 15 extra base hits last year, roughly the same number of ABs, compared to 9 this year. He hit 60 points higher than he's hitting right now last year. His on-base percentage was over 30 points higher last year than it is right now. And his slugging percentage, 140 points higher than it was in roughly the same number of at-bats this year. Anything to read into there? Paul?
Yeah, and this again goes back to what I talk about with competing at the level that the Reds need to compete at if they want to keep winning these games and getting production from guys that they need to count on to get production out of. And you're counting on a guy like Tyler Stevenson to produce at a level that he's not producing at right now. So, I mean, you're not going to trade him though. You're not going to any other option.
No.
He is the option.
Yep.
He is the option.
To be fair, I'm just looking at the breakdown of when this sort of slide started to happen. He was a 2.87 in the month of April batting average, and for the month of May,
it's been brutal.
It's been a brutal month of May for him. So I'm not gonna say I'm out on the idea that he's in this. Obviously, he's in a slump, but I don't think that we're hitting the panic button yet, right? Like, he can get out of this, right, and have a great June or July. Like, the season is still very early on,
Yes.
I guess is what I'm getting at. And, yeah, I mean, I think he is in a little bit of a slump. But, I mean, last 7 days he's at averaging .27. I mean, that's average, but, right?
Well, it's a lot
average.
better than where he's been.
Right.
It's a lot better than where he's been. But I don't know sometimes, and believe me, I've been guilty of this, but I'm also the guy that you've heard me say on the show before. I don't buy into the hype of minor league players. I don't buy it. Because talent gets you so far. I don't know enough about these guys and their makeup and what's in here. Okay? But if you just went strictly on numbers based on Stevenson, I would ask the question, have we thought that he should be more than maybe what he really is? Because if you look at his 2 full minor league seasons in 18 and 19, and really 19, it wasn't a full because of COVID. I mean, he hit 11 home runs and 400 at-bats at Double-A, Single-A, forgive me. And he knocked in 49 runs. That doesn't become 25 home runs and 95 knocked in at the big leagues. That's not the way those numbers project. But like I said, I'm not going to throw it because the guy last year before he got hurt was better than he's ever been, even in the minor leagues, by far better. And so you saw it at the big league level and you're thinking, I mean, because his batting average last year through the first 50 games was on average was, let me see here, see this. It was 70 points higher than his minor league average over the course of his 5 seasons in the minor leagues. So, maybe there was something that happened to the guy. I don't know. But we have all summer to talk about this stuff. And it's all going to play out sooner or later. Somebody says the 2023 SI swimsuit edition is elite. Chad says that.
Martha Stewart's on the cover.
Yeah. Nothing like putting 80-year-olds on the cover. Hey, God bless her. She looks great. She really does. She looks fantastic. Good for her. Good for her.
Cherry on top. Run it, Casey. 2 days in a row. Watch
It's that
this.
time of the show. The ham-
Not that one.
Not that one.
Not that one.
Not that one.
This was late last night. Our guy, Noda, again. Grand slam to tie the game in the 7th inning.
How about that?
Pinch hit.
Pinch hit grand slam, too.
Mark Lewis.
That's good stuff. Our buddy Ryan Noda. He was on the program.
We gave him the bump.
We brought him the mojo from off the bench. Look at the big fella.
A's went on to win the game.
And that was a lefty-lefty matchup there. How about that? He's standing there watching it. That ball's way back.
Wait a minute. Are we sure he pinch hit? Because he says he's 0 for 1 on that.
Maybe that wasn't the pinch.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe he stayed in the game. Pinch hit.
Grand slam for the big fella. All right, we turn our attention to box lunch. Reed Mouse, how we looking?
Looking great, Tom. How was your Costco trip yesterday?
Big time. Love that store. Love it.
Being facetious or you
No,
being serious?
I love it. I love going there. I
What's
box
it do?
up all my own stuff. I'm the guy digging underneath, and I'm buying all this stuff for a big cookout we're having tomorrow night with the high school boys lacrosse team. And, so, I got the frozen burgers and I got some chicken breasts and all that. But then I got to get lots of bottles of water and everything. You know what I mean? So I got the stuff on the bottom rack. They can just, I put that on, right? But then I'm looking for the boxes because my former life, I was one of the all-time great grocery baggers.
Really?
That was my main job all the way through college, bagging groceries, and really, I'd have won all those Kroger contests if I was in them.
Over there in Athens or
No.
This
is just during the summer.
Summer when you come home.
Yeah. So when I go to the grocery store or go to Costco, I don't want anybody else messing with it.
Because you know what's up.
I'm doing it. I'm bagging my own groceries when I go into the grocery store, and I'm boxing everything up in their boxes when I go to Costco. You got to know how to do it.
Paper bags or plastic bags?
Most of the time, my wife tries to get me to bring those ones she has in the back of her car, but that's a problem. They're in the back of her car,
right?
Not my car, right?
Never where they need to be.
Normally, it depends on what you're putting in them, right?
Right, absolutely.
And what else would there be on a trip to the grocery store or a trip to Costco without a bag of Doritos?
Ooh, what, nacho cheese?
Oh, yeah.
Big league.
I mean, what else would there be? What else would there be?
They
didn't have them yesterday at Costco. That's what our kids like. And I look for them. They didn't have them.
Is that your potato chip of choice? I'm a Pringles guy.
Love Pringles.
Yeah.
Love them.
Nice and neat. Don't have the big bag, just the tin.
Yeah, and they don't break into little pieces like you get, people throwing them around.
When you get to the end, then they are. But,
Yeah.
But then you can just funnel them in.
The big old bag of stinking Doritos. Just hide them for everybody else. Luke and I can dig in.
Love it.
Love it.
Sir Boy wants, do you know who Post Malone is? First off.
I do know who Post Malone is. He's the only guy. Well, not the only guy, but he's all tatted up, head to toe. Why? What about him?
Well, Sir Boy Wonder sent in a chat when you went to the bathroom during the first Ham and Eggers segment and said he wanted you to go to the Post Malone concert in Cincinnati.
I had kids that went to that show, so that's how I know who Post Malone is. We'll leave it at that.
Did we miss a Sir Boy?
Where did we go from Wiggles to Post Malone? Where did everything go south?
I think that was all at the same time. I think it was all getting sent at the same time. But then we went to the Ham and Eggers segment.
Are you guys going to the Post Malone show?
I will not be at the Post Malone show.
No. Jacob, you going to Post Malone? You going?
No, God, no. I don't like Post Malone.
No.
Okay, me either. I'm not going. No. The changes of life. You go from taking your kids to Wiggles, and years later they're going to Post Malone. Now you tell me, is that improvement? That's light. All right, box lunch, here we go. See you tomorrow, everybody. Thanks for being with us. By the way, George Vogel is with us tomorrow.
Oh, let's go.
Capping off a legendary career.
Nice,
right?
nice.
Really excited. I worked with George my first job out of college. I've been wanting to get him on. He was winding things down there, had a lot of other things going on, and we finally got him nailed down tomorrow for a long chat. The best dude in the world. I mean, the best dude in the world. So we've got him tomorrow. We got Tracy Jones tomorrow. We got Steve Flesh. We got Paul O'Neill, among others, coming up Friday. But right now, Casey, Paul, Jacob, thank you. Box lunch, remounts, here we go.
I must admit, I didn't think much of this show the first time I laid eyes on it. Seemed like a bunch of stiffs wasting nice
the worst
microphones.
trade of all time happened back in 1803. Go ahead. Napoleon Bonaparte traded the Louisiana Purchase for $3 million. Napoleon, what happened? Half the country for $3 million. You can't even get Tucker Barnhart for $3 million.
Then I came to realize
anymore.
these guys are funny.
And Justin Fields have identical stats the last 5 weeks about throwing the football. This guy, okay,
And
folks,
are
is a
some of the
fidget
best
spinner.
gamblers I've come to know.
If you're betting on USC and or TCU, let it be known you are a square.
TCU is going to hammer this team tomorrow night.
I hate to hear that.
Tomorrow
when we come back
afternoon.
in here on Monday, you're going to be happy as a lark because USC lost, but you're going to be wrong about TCU.
Get ready for the most useless hour of your day. It's time for Boxed Lunch, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Now, Casey, Run that track.
Now that sounds like a Post Malone beat. Do we like Post Malone? Do you guys like Post Malone? I was getting reared in the chat for not really caring. I guess I don't dislike Post Malone. I just don't care a whole lot.
I'm not gonna sit here and say I love Post Malone. I don't really care. I'm not gonna pay money to go see him in concert. If I got a free ticket, I'd kick it around.
I understand how popular he is. Like, I get people are he's got a very passionate fan base.
He does.
Which I appreciate. But I guess I haven't dived deep enough into Post Malone. I guess that's all it is. I just haven't dived deep enough into Post Malone. But this is Box Lunch presented by Betfred Sportsbook. I'm Reed Mouse, the recently engaged Paul Fritchner, the soon-to-be married Casey McAllister. Guys, happy Wednesday to you.
Feels like a while since we've done a box lunch, so it's good to be back.
1 week. We did one last Wednesday. Just constantly moving here in the spring. We, if I'm on the show on Off the Bench, then we won't do one, which is, I think that's going to be how it is going to be Friday. So this might be the only box lunch of the week. Regardless, you guys talked a lot of Reds on Off the Bench, and that was refreshing to get some nice, authentic baseball talk, and we're going to parlay it here into box lunch. And the first topic is, Matt McLain's up for the Reds. And I want the Reds to start bringing them all up. Matt McLain has generated a spark in the fan base that is genuinely, and I'm being dead serious with this, it's illuminating to see. The Reds have been playing good ball. They're 12-8 over their last 20, I believe. They're a couple games under 500, tied for third in the division. They can see the top of the division, a couple games out of the wild card spot. And it's only 2 games in. But Matt McLain already has some big league at-bats. Already a couple hits, a clutch hit last night. The at-bats are competitive. And it seems that he's not only generating a spark in the fan base, but he's generating a spark amongst the team too. They're playing with emotion. They're playing exciting ball. And this is why the Reds can have a memorable summer. They can continue to bring up these young guys. They can continue to generate buzz. Christian Encarnacion-Strand, CES, he'll be great. All that power. Ellie De La Cruz can be the greatest player on the planet, is what I heard last night. This is the same planet that Shohei Ohtani plays on, lives on. And they think that Ellie De La Cruz can be the greatest player on the planet. That's high praise. Who else you got? Andrew Abbott, great pitcher. And this is coming from me, who you guys know is a Cubs fan. And things aren't good on the north side right now. Listen, everyone I love is a Reds fan. My friends, my coworkers, the chat, my dad, my siblings, all Reds fans. And I still, listen, as a Cubs fan, I want the Reds to lose every game. That'll never change. So ask yourself, why do I want the Reds to bring all these guys up? And it's pretty simple. I'm tired of getting on Twitter and seeing it all the time. I'm tired of seeing Louisville bat box scores. I'm tired of seeing all the minor league highlights, everything. I just want the Reds to bring up these players so everyone that I follow on Twitter will stop talking about it. That's all it is. That's all I want. Twitter's insufferable for me right now because when the Reds do good, everyone comes at me. And the Cubs are doing bad. And I love it that way. This is the part of being the heel of the show. But golly, I'm tired of seeing shaky cameras from AAA and AA highlights and box scores. Ellie De La Cruz.
Whoa. You watch your mouth about minor league productions.
But how are the Bay Sox doing?
Oh, man. You mean just like record-wise or production-wise?
How are we looking?
Neither one's looking great. The broadcaster's good. Other than that, the broadcast, the production level's tough. The record is horrendous. I think they're like 9-23 or something. Not good. But that's because the Orioles were doing well.
Right, because they bring them all up. And that's what's going to happen with the Reds. And like I said, man, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of seeing it all throughout Twitter. And maybe it'll never stop. Maybe that's part of the thing of being a devout fan is you always see these highlights. You always got to be excited for what's coming next. But I'm just ready for the get crawleds and the highlights to be off my Twitter permanently. All the gobbledygook that is on my Twitter feed. Maybe I should blame Elon Musk. My For You page is just littered. Listen, how bad is Twitter that my For You page is nothing but Reds things? And maybe that's just because the Reds fans literally tweet me every time they do something well. But now, Paul, as a Twitter expert,
Yes.
is there a way to like get these Reds highlights, all these Reds stats from the minor league guys,
I mean,
all this hype off my Twitter feed?
I mean, you could just mute the Louisville Bats, and that would probably take care of 90% of it. If you just muted the Louisville...
If I just mute the phrase CES, Ellie De La Cruz,
yeah.
Abbott.
If you just mute all of that, I think you're good.
See, this is why I come to you. This is why I come to you, Paul. You are the Twitter expert. But...
What's next, Reed?
All right, the Reds never fail. This is going to be fun for you guys. Every year, Reds fans have expectations going into the year. 2 years ago, they see the postseason caliber roster, and they're like, hey, let's get in the postseason. Let's do things. We're coming off 2020. Just been a postseason. Didn't go well. Let's get back in. Let's fight for this thing. Obviously didn't happen. Last year, the Reds trade everyone away, and the Reds fans aren't quite sure what to think, and somehow they go 3-22 and diverge expectations there. This year, the year that Reds fans were finally ready to just go, hey, we're going to be bad. Let's embrace the suck. Let's embrace being bad. Let's be bad, but let's kind of have some exciting things to mull over. And here we are in the third week of May, and the goalposts are shifting. They're playing good ball. Like I said, 12-8 over their last 20. Tied for third place in the NL Central. A couple games out of the lead in the NL Central. A couple of games out of the wild card. Somehow, the Reds have mastered a way to constantly subvert fans' expectations. They have mastered a way to hurt their fans in the most explosive fashion possible because they're giving you this little glimmer of hope. They're right here, right? You thought they were going to suck, but they don't suck. Oh, no. They're playing good ball, and we've got all these young prospects coming up. Let's bring them up. Let's fight for this thing. Maybe let's go even trade a piece in July and really compete for this. And time again, the Reds will hurt their fans in the worst way possible. You know what the Reds are? They're that toxic boyfriend. You know the guy. You've seen the couple. Somehow, the girl just keeps coming back. And literally the Reds did that last year. Where else are you going to go? That's the toxic boyfriend. What are you going to do? Can't do better than me? Somehow, just keep coming back. And they keep hurting you. And you keep getting this glimmer of hope. You keep seeing subverting all the expectations just when you're finally ready to quit them. Just when you're like, this guy sucks. He shows up to the family function, gives flowers for your mom. You're like, all right, well, maybe he's changed. Maybe things are getting a little better in this relationship. Hey, honey, can you pick me up at work tomorrow? Ghost you. Don't hear him. Don't hear from him. Then he takes you out to dinner. Things are getting better again. And then he's flirting with the girl at the bar on the weekend. The Reds keep doing this to you guys. And as your friend, I love you all. I don't want to see it happen again. The Reds stink. They're always going to stink. They've showed you what they are. Don't get excited. Just don't. I'm begging you. You've seen this happen before. Matt McClain might be a great ball player. Ellie De La Cruz might be a great ball player. Andrew Abbott, all these guys that are coming up, they might be just fine. But you're not going to make the postseason. You probably won't make the postseason next year. toxic. It's a toxic relationship. Just please don't. Casey, Paul, please don't tell me you guys are getting excited about these Reds.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean we're
No. I mean, yes, we are. Why wouldn't you, Reed? Why would you not?
Did you cut my mic?
I had to do it for the people.
Once again, you are silencing freedom of speech. Once again, Casey, we are.
Do not spin this.
We are proponents. We are proponents of the Bill of Rights. All the amendment, the first 10, the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, and you're silencing me. I guess you guys are right. Maybe the toxic one in this relationship is Casey.
I tried telling you guys there's a couple rules, right? You can't, start a panic. You can't incite a riot, which is what you're doing right now. And you can't talk bad about our towns.
I'm inciting a riot?
Yeah.
How? I didn't say there was fire in this movie theater.
No, that's a panic. A riot is when you get the people upset and angry.
I'm not telling you to march the Capitol.
I mean, you are inciting a riot right now. I mean, look at the chat.
You to stand
everyone wants to overthrow you on your own show.
They're saying I'm causing an annexation. What am I annexing? Reds fandom, bringing them over to the Cubs fandom? I don't think that's gonna work. I'm just telling you guys that you are in a toxic relation. Listen, this is what happens. You go to tell your girlfriend, like you tell the friend that you see, you're like, hey, this guy's bad news. You don't know him. You don't know him like I know him. Stop. It's toxic. Just get out of it. Just don't get your hopes up. You can sit around, you can watch from afar, and maybe if you see that he has changed, if you see that the Reds have fully changed, then you can go be a fan again. But just sit on the sideline for a while. Don't get excited. That's all I'm asking.
All right.
Is that too much?
I think it is too much, Reed.
It's too much.
You guys are getting excited about the Reds.
Absolutely.
I am in. I'm wearing a Reds polo today.
I'm going to the Yankees game on Friday.
Well, that's because you want to watch a championship caliber team in the Yankees. Listen, let's compare to the Yankees. The Yankees' goalposts are making the World Series. They feel like they are a terrible franchise because they haven't been to a World Series in 14 years, and they keep going to the ALCS and can't get across because they keep losing to the Astros. Meanwhile, the Reds are just trying to win a postseason series. And people are getting excited because the Reds are 4 games under 500? Please. What happened to this once proud city? Cincinnati. It was rated the best place to live in Ohio. Now, granted, second place on that same list, I looked it up, was Youngstown, Ohio. So maybe that wasn't the best list ever put together.
Where was Cleveland on the list?
Cleveland was 4th.
What was 3rd?
Columbus.
Oh, okay.
Well, that list stinks.
Hamilton was not on the list, which was incredibly damning to that list.
Yeah. That list stinks.
It only went six deep. Put Youngstown at 2. They felt Youngstown deserved to be in the top 6, not Akron.
Toledo?
Toledo was on there.
5th?
5. Dayton was 6th.
All right.
That's all the big cities.
Yeah. Check all the boxes.
All right. But here's an honest thing. Do you guys as Reds fans feel like they're exceeding expectations at this very point?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I was just having this conversation with Paul on Tom's show a couple days ago. I said, we're going to meet the expectation goalpost of Memorial Day. We got to move it now. So we've already moved it to
the All-Star
break. We'll reconvene again with this Reds team and making a judgment call by the All-Star break.
So you have just prolonged student loan payment. You just keep pushing it back. Like, hey, we'll see you again in 2 more months.
But that is cause for excitement.
So you are getting excited. Your first year as a true Reds fan, and you are already roped in to the toxic behaviors of this Reds team.
Absolutely.
Casey, I care about you too much. Don't go down this. There are teams. You don't have to be a Reds fan. There are teams that are fun, teams that win. Not the Cubs, but teams that are worth following. Don't do this to yourself. All right, so let me ask you this. So we're at the All-Star break. What does that look like? What is the expectations for the All-Star break?
Somewhere around 500, somewhere maybe 6 or 7 games back of first place.
And then what does that mean? Like we go and get some pieces?
Yeah, I don't really know what that means. I just think that at that point, at least the season's still interesting.
Hang on. Just because you don't have to go and add pieces for it to be a successful season.
No.
All I want to see is progress. Can they learn how to win? And I think if they stay at that 500 range, that they're slowly learning how to win and be the franchise that we all know that they can be.
Do we know that they can be that franchise?
Well,
what have they shown to prove that they can be that franchise?
Well, their illustrious history, of course.
Oh, illustrious.
That's right.
Their first World Series, they won because the other team literally gave it to them. Their second World Series, they won because all the All-Stars were at World War II. Now, granted, Big Red Machine, one of the best teams in the history of the MLB. 1990, wire to wire, fantastic year. But you take out that 15-year stretch from the mid-'70s to 1990, what has this franchise been?
You're going to take out a decade and a half of history?
In 160 years? Yeah, I'll take out 1/10 of the franchise. That's 5 years of the Bengals. Didn't like that answer, did you, Case? All right. Guys, let's talk about Zim. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. What do we think of Zim and the T. Higgins extension? What T. Higgins said yesterday on the tweet? Is it fair to, I personally am not, I see a lot of people are getting mad at Zim. I don't think that's the right way to go. I don't think you can get angry at Zim for whatever happened with the T. Higgins extension talk that he posted a couple months ago, whenever that was. I think you look at Zim, and he's a positive voice for the Bengals. In a community that oftentimes fandom can be toxic, as I just was a moment ago. He is a positive voice, constantly pushing positive narratives about the Cincinnati Bengals. And I don't look at him any more than that. I don't look at him as an insider. So when that tweet came out, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then everyone else, all the actual insiders came out and said, listen, that's not true. Nothing, we haven't heard anything. And now T. Higgins said that was never the case. So as a Bengals fan in that community, you guys are too. And I'm asking the chat this as well. Is it fair to just be like, hey, listen, he made a mistake. Let's move on. He's still a positive voice for this community. Is that fair?
I actually would agree with that thought, because it could have been as simple as they just need, his tweet could be true, right? It could still hold some. I understand that there was what T said was that there was nothing finalized, nothing done. Zim didn't necessarily say it was. I mean, he said the phrase "it was done," but you got to get number 9 finished first.
Right.
That could still hold true. That could be the thing that's holding it up, which, that's not his fault. I think it was premature.
But there is also a massive component here where he's dealing with the court of public opinion. Yes, what you're saying may not by the letter of the law be wrong, but there is also a huge part of this where Zim is just having to eat it on Twitter.
No, I agree. I think the better course of action would have been that, and maybe he will say this when the deals maybe come through, because we don't know that yet, that, he thought that it was a done deal, or maybe there was something that was said to him that made him lead to believe, oh yeah, that's got to be done, right? $25 million for 3, or 25 for average for 3 years. That's great for T. Maybe he is asking more or something we don't know exactly what info was given to him. But what gets me is he still wants to maybe play both sides a little bit. Like he's an insider. He's not really an insider. I don't know.
He's not a journalist.
He's not a journalist. He's not an insider. And then you go into the fans with sources deal, which, again, Zim has a brand. He has built a very good brand. He's extremely successful in what he's doing. And then when you dip your toe into trying to report something like this and you get it wrong, you hurt what you've already been trying to build. Now, I don't think this is something that's going to hurt Zim really in the long term. Like, this is something that will blow over. Eventually, T. Higgins, if he signs the deal, Zim can spin it in a way that he can take a victory lap and people will move on. As long as Zim keeps making good content, being funny, being the Bengals guy that he is, that's all that really matters.
Right.
Because I don't really know how many people are serious. If this is Jay Morrison or Paul Dehner Jr. or somebody like that getting this wrong, then that's a whole different story because that hurts their credibility to their sole purpose of their job.
Right.
Zim's job is to entertain, not inform. It's to entertain.
Right.
Yep. I
now,
agree with that.
this does, like, anytime that Zim wants to try and be the quote-unquote insider, right? Anytime that he tries to, like, post news, that credibility is gone.
Yeah.
That is gone. But for what he is, you know, a fan that tries to excite the fan base, and he does a great job at that. So it's that. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Right.
It's not.
I agree. Fully agree.
It's just not. If you read the tweet originally with a grain of salt, it's just not a big deal. It's just not.
Agree. Now, Casey, do you think that there is any validity? Someone in the chat earlier today put that Joe Burrow is going to wait out for Justin Herbert's deal first. Think there's validity in that?
Just from his press conference, I don't think so, man. I mean, why would he go out and say, like, well, I've already laid out all what I want in the ground rules for my contract, when that's not necessarily the case. Like, he didn't have to say that.
Right.
Like, that would be a lie then if
And Joe Burrow has never told a lie. That is a fact.
Yeah, I mean,
he cut down a cherry tree one time. Someone asked him who did it. He said it was me.
Exactly. So I don't know, man. I mean, I just, it would be, if you wanted to make money, yeah, you wait out, right? But I just don't think that's his MO. I think he genuinely is trying to get everyone the best deal that they possibly can and stick together. But we just don't know what that looks like. There's not enough that's been leaked out, like other people other cases and other teams where we hear figures and numbers being thrown around and details. That just doesn't happen with Bengals until the day it gets announced, and that's how they just do business. So it's a big waiting game, honestly. No one knows anything, and no one knows anyone's motives when it comes to these negotiations. But what you can take away is what Joe said. And if you're taking anything from what Joe said, I don't think you can say that he's waiting on anyone. I think he's wanting to just get a good deal for everyone.
Fair enough. All right. Yep. I'm on board. All right, guys, I got a question for you.
All right.
Off the world of sports. I was grocery shopping yesterday, and we were going through the lines, and you're getting the stuff, and we get a discount at Kroger because we use my father-in-law's brand. He works at Kroger. Whole story. There are a few things I will not go generic brand on, as most people do. Most people have one or two things, and they vary. So my thing personally is I do not go generic brand for bread. I get Klosterman bread. And Pop-Tarts. I do not get generic brand Pop-Tarts. What is the few things grocery shopping or anything wise, that you will not go generic brand on? You have to go name brand.
Cereal.
Ooh.
Cereal. I can't do like a generic Frosted Flake or a generic Fruit Loop or, one of those. Can't do generic cereal. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I'm just going to keep it food. A Kirkland golf ball is great. We love Kirkland golf balls.
So you don't? Yeah, you go generic brand for golf balls.
That's generic. Love a good Kirkland golf ball. Let's see. Is there anything else this is tough off the top of my head because I'm sure there are things that I'm not thinking of. Casey, do you have anything off the top of your head?
Cereal is going to be mine. That's a big one for me. I would say, honestly, I don't go generic or
man.
What?
Your name brand? You don't go
I'm trying to think of stuff that I go generic on.
Yeah, that's my thing is I don't know what.
You guys stick to name brand, huh?
Most of the time. But, well, I guess food-wise I do get a lot of Kroger brand things, which is generic.
That is generic.
So
Everett Henry says Kirkland's not generic. How is Kirkland not generic?
Kirkland is Costco's brand.
Yeah, I know. That's literally a white label brand. Like, that's what we mean.
Yeah. Soda. I would never get like a generic, like a Sprite.
You would never buy it.
Would never buy it.
Could you drink it?
If you hand it, if it was a party, it's like a family get together and somebody hands you
That's a big one. I would drink it, but I would never buy it.
I would
That's fair.
Yeah, I would never buy just like the random orange soda that Kroger carries or whatever it is.
You know the one that I might get a little heat for this one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like buying off-brand sports gear.
Why would you get hate for that? What do you mean?
I think
like
stuff very fair.
Stuff that is made for you, or stuff that's like, has a really. I'm very 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 I want the main brand, whatever's on the shelf, support the team sort of stuff.
Oh, you're talking like a license gear. I thought you were talking like you don't want to use Dick's Sporting Goods baseball glove. Like you wanted to use Wilson's A2000.
Oh.
He's saying actually go to the team store, get an authentic jersey. He doesn't want to go to DH Gate to get a fake jersey.
Right.
Okay, yeah. 100%. Yeah. I wouldn't do DH Gate or one of those. Yeah, no. I'm with you. But I also am not a jersey guy. Like if I'm going to spend money on team gear or something, like when I got this polo or stuff like that, I'm going to get one that looks nice or something.
So
right, that's what I'm getting at.
So jerseys are the only thing that I think I will go generic. Like there's no point in getting an off-brand, unlicensed Cub shirt, Bengal shirt, Xavier shirt, whatever I want. There's no point in that. But when it comes to jerseys, spending $200 for a real jersey as opposed to just spending $20 for DHgate, I don't know. I don't think I can swing that, Casey. Now I have a licensed Joe Burrow jersey. Got it for my birthday a couple years ago. And it is way nicer. It is infinitely nicer than the fake jerseys that I've gotten. So maybe there is something to that.
Go ahead, Casey.
I was just going to say, OJ brought up a really good one. Toilet paper.
Oh, okay. So that was what I was about to say.
This is Kroger brand toilet paper or Costco toilet paper.
Tangential to that. I am very much toilet paper and tissues. And it's funny because I kind of got...
So you're a Kleenex guy or...
Yeah. Oh, especially, as you guys know, with my allergies and how much I blow my nose, whether it's Kleenex or Puffs, I'm going to get Kleenex because I blow my nose so much and my skin is so dry. I will go better on the Kleenex. But the toilet paper, I never compromise on two things that I for sure don't ever do. Toilet paper and Kleenex. I will never go one ply on toilet paper. Never do the one ply.
So what's your brand? Do you get name or do you get Costco or you get Kroger? Because Kroger will have 2 or 3 ply or 2 ply, not 3 ply.
At least 2. I go 3.
Oh, really?
If it's available. I'm not like a snob 3 ply, but if I can get 3 ply, I will. And it's you think you kind of laugh at it, but man, you use it, it's a game changer. Get a bidet. I've never used a bidet.
I've used a bidet.
I've never used one, and I would love to.
It feels like I'm going to be honest with you guys. Once you use a bidet, it is the superior way to clean. It is genuinely the superior way to clean. I don't know why it's not more highly used in this country.
You're still wiping, though.
But you're cleaning it.
I get it, but you're still... I get the premise of it. I just don't want to soak my...
Get your hands... Okay, Casey.
Yeah.
You're doing yard work.
Yeah.
Get your hands dirty.
Yes.
Do you wet your hands, or do you just put a paper towel and dry them off?
Well, yeah. I get the premise. I understand it's cleaner, There's just something about wetting your bum while
Does it feel a little Bud Light? Is that what you're saying?
a little Bud Light. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Wet wipes work too. Wet wipes, if you guys haven't used wet wipes, they're good. Now I will say this. One thing that you should not go name brand, don't get the dude wipes. Just get wet wipes. Just get the generic wet wipes. As long as they're flushable, they're fine. Dude wipes are like twice as expensive. Just because they say dude on them.
I'm going to trust Nathan Hines. He said laundry detergent. I've never, ever had generic laundry detergent, so I wouldn't know, but I'm assuming that it's probably
I'm sitting here
true.
trying to think more so of what I do buy generic.
Granola bars.
Yeah, I can get a Kroger brand granola
Most
bar.
snacks that I get from a grocery store, lunch meat. I just get Kroger lunch meat.
Yep.
So I get a discount on every Kroger brand thing that I buy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get like 15% off or something like that. So got to stick with it for most things, but I will not go Kroger brand for bread. Got to get Klosterman, and then I will not go. Got to get the Pop-Tart brand.
Yeah.
Can't
What
go
even
generic.
is the non-Pop-Tart brand? I've never had it.
I mean, they're Pop-Tarts. They're just Kroger brand.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
What is Kroger's? Is it just say Kroger on it?
It says Kroger or Private Selection.
Okay.
Private Selection's like their upper tier generic brand.
Got it. Okay.
Walmart's Great Value. I don't know what Myers is.
George Santos, it's so funny we say this straight face. George Santos makes a good point. Kroger brand ice cream is good. I like Kroger's ice cream a lot.
Have you ever had bad ice cream? Have you ever had bad ice cream?
Yeah, I'm not like an ice cream snob, so
Every town, so growing up here in Hamilton, you hear about Flubs all the time. They're like, oh, Flubs the best ice cream you ever go to. Then you go to college, and whatever town you go to in college, like, oh, you've got to have this ice cream. You got to have I went to Bluffton. Got to have the Bluffton Dairy Freeze. It's the best ice cream ever. And then I work in Van Wert, Ohio, and they're like, oh my God, you got to go to the Van Wert Dairy Whip. It's the best ice cream ever had. Every town that you've ever been into has their one ice cream place that they swear up and down is the best ice cream place. And I got to tell you guys, straight up, it's all the same. It always will be the same. Now, when you get to the scoop stuff, like soft serve ice cream, making cyclones and stuff like that, it's all the same. Scoop stuff, Graders, here in town, you got Village Parlor. That's different.
yeah.
But I've never had bad ice cream. There's never been a single flavor of ice cream that I've disliked.
So basically you're just saying all soft serve is the same.
All soft serve's the same. But I also think that about all scooped ice cream. I've never had a scooped ice cream that I've disliked.
You know what would be
Mint chocolate
interesting?
chip, rocket, name them. I like it. Butter pecan, love it. Butter pecan's probably my favorite. But
You should like blindfold and do like taste tests for each brand of whatever your favorite flavor is, and then we can finally decide if there truly is. Because
get 4 different butter pecans and see which one I like the most.
yeah,
I got one that somebody just brought up that is good. Frozen stuff. Like a frozen meal, like a frozen pizza. It's got to be DiGiorno.
Oh, man. So here's the thing. I'm going value there. A DiGiorno's $8.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's a Domino's pizza.
Yeah.
I'd rather just like
order a Domino's pizza.
Yeah, it'd take the exact same amount of time. I don't like it's the same process. Even if I have to go pick it up, it's the same process.
Yeah.
I'd rather just do that. Kroger makes a really good self-rising crust that's $3. That's very similar to DiGiorno. It's $3.
I've never had that, but I have had some generic frozen stuff. Now there's other stuff like the lean cuisines and things that you get off of. Like I hate diet sodas. I hate the lean cuisines, but that's not a generic. That's just a preference and taste. You know.
There is some generic food items like corn. Like, are you getting any main brand corn? No, probably not. Green beans, like frozen green beans.
Right, canned stuff, frozen stuff, all that stuff. Yeah, you might just go get the generic brand. Why pay extra for stuff that you don't care for?
Yeah,
I go
Sauces.
generic for 80% of things.
What about like spaghetti sauce?
Yeah, Kroger brand.
Kroger brand.
I don't get ragu.
My family's a Prego family, so
Prego.
Yeah, that's fine. Peanut butter. Everybody's saying peanut butter.
Jif peanut.
Wouldn't know.
Yeah, what?
I wouldn't know.
Come on, it's peanut butter. Am I crazy here? Have you ever had different peanut? Like I've had Jif, I've had Peter Pan, I've had all these different brands. It's this. I genuinely think you can give me a spoonful of all of it.
Didn't even know there was Peter Pan.
And I could take a lick. Am I missing a major brand? The first two that came to mind. Skippy. I could take a lick of 8 different kinds of peanut butter. You can get it from 8 different brands. And I promise you they will all taste incredibly similar. Incredibly. Choosy moms choose Jif. Now, there is one more thing that I've got to say that you should never go high brand for.
Ooh.
Never.
High brand.
Vodka.
Oh.
No. So vodka by...
We talked about this the other day.
Vodka by definition is flavorless, odorless. Its literally only objective is to go in mixers to make it alcoholic. That's its only objective.
Yeah.
You do not drink vodka straight. You can drink tequila straight. It's good. Bourbon straight. Gin is a little different, but you really shouldn't drink gin straight. Vodka is literally only objective is to make something alcoholic. So if you're spending $40 for a bottle of Grey Goose, you're being silly. You're being goofy because it is odorless. It is flavorless. So is Smirnoff. So is Tito's. Tito's is the big one. Oh, I can taste the difference in Tito's. Yeah. No, you can't. Get the hell out of here.
The only one. Vodka is what I drink. If I'm not drinking beer, I drink a lot of vodka. The only one I have drank every brand. I've drank every brand. The only one that I can tell the difference between is Grey Goose and everything else.
The only thing you are tasting is more or less alcohol. So if you are, it's not smoother. The quote unquote, it's smoother. That ain't a thing. It all tastes the same. It's all just alcoholic water. It's potatoes. They made it into a liquid, cleared up, and fermented it. It's all the same.
Yeah, like Tito's or Smirnoff or New Amsterdam or all those. Like, just throw it in.
Correct.
But when I see that long, skinny bottle come out, that's a little different. It's a little different. I will go out of my way to order that sometimes, but very rarely because it really doesn't matter. Like the Tito's thing, I was looking at that last night because we were looking at wedding stuff and they were going through the different like brands of things and I know some of my family that really likes Tito's and stuff and I'm thinking to myself like if it's Grey Goose and we're paying the extra $5 or whatever, okay, but if it's Tito's and everything else, like it's all the same.
I would like to taste test it, Paul. I would like to give you what's your when you get vodka? What is
Moscow
it?
Mule?
A Moscow Mule.
Yeah, that's the only one I can taste the difference in. And maybe it's the ginger beer. Like
I would say that
maybe it goes in hand with the places I've had that the ginger beer is better too. Could be. I don't know.
When you're making a Moscow Mule, the much more important part is the ginger beer you're putting.
Yeah,
in. That is infinitely more important. Whether you get it sweet, whether you get it spicier, however you like it. That is way more important than the actual vodka. We'll do a taste test. You know what, Paul? We'll have a little fun. We'll have fun here someday. We'll bring the copper mugs out, and I'll make about three different Moscow Mules. Mix them up.
I'll just keep getting them wrong so we can keep having them.
I'll keep tabs on it, and then we'll do a genuine taste test to see Paul's palate.
We'll test
Paul's pee-pee. All right, let's get in the vault. This is sponsored by Betfred Sportsbook, so we end up every show with a bet. I've got a parlay for you guys. Tell me if it's slanted or not. Give me the Cubs to beat the Astros tonight, plus 140. You parlay that with the Colorado Rockies money line and the Dallas Stars to win at plus 105. That is plus 838. Cubs win, Reds lose, Stars win. That's the parlay tonight.
I'm going to go with a parlay as well, just a two-legger though. The over on the Miami Heat game and Miami Heat to cover, plus 8. That gives you plus 272.
I'm going Heat plus 8. How about Jaylen Brown, 25 points?
Love it.
And Jimmy Butler, 8 rebounds. Parlay that, 333. Not terrible.
That ain't bad.
Not terrible.
Give me that. Where is that at?
It's good stuff.
All right. Parlay Plus on the Betfred Sportsbook. All right, fire up the wheel of lunch. We haven't done this.
Fire up the wheel of lunch. Mouse Cop, love you, as always.
You know what was funny? Last night I was watching the Reds game, and I had it muted. I was listening to something on my computer, and I look up at the screen, and they were showing a burger. And I was legitimately, for the first time in a long time, I liked the Burger King ads. It was not Burger King. And I was like, man, that cheeseburger, I would go to whatever restaurant that is because that cheeseburger looks really good.
Sonic.
It was Sonic.
Nice.
Sonic.
So I got to be completely honest here, guys. I brought in lunch today, so I will not be partaking in the wheel of lunch.
I think you may need to put Taco Bell on here 8 times if you catch my drift. I think my mind's made up. But if it's good, I can be convinced.
I made a nice dinner last night, so I have leftovers.
Oh, what'd you make?
I made carbonara.
Oh, dang.
You like carbonara?
Actually, I had spaghetti last night, and I didn't bring it in. I should have. Casey texted me at 8:30 this morning and said, "Bringing in leftovers today?"
Do you guys like to cook? I think we've talked about this. I genuinely love it. I love making cocktails, and I love cooking.
Not really.
If I didn't have to go and get the supplies, I would be.
Like yesterday, I had nothing to do. It rained all day, so I couldn't cut any yards. And what I do, I go worked out and went to Kroger and got supplies, made a nice, amazing little dinner, and that's what I did with my Tuesday.
Any other suggestions?
No. Leave it.
Put Gabriel in there.
Yeah, put Gabriel in there.
I'm just going to put Gabe. Anything else?
No, we're good.
Okay.
Spin it.
Spin that.
Oh, no. Disaster for me.
Taco Bell gone.
Disaster for Paul.
Would love if Gabe won.
Is that no lunch?
Gabriel?
Yeah, does Gabe equal no lunch? Yikes. Uh-oh. See you, Sonic.
Good. OJ's Bronco. What about chicken liver? I like chicken liver. I genuinely I can't think of a single food I dislike. Not one. I'm serious. I mean, there's food that I prefer over other food, but like if you're like feeding me, like here you go, Reed, have this, and I'm like, all right, sure, sounds good.
See you, Canes. Oh no, did I speak too soon?
Oh, I think you got it.
Wow,
you almost did.
Yeah, lima. Any beans are terrible.
What? You don't like black beans?
I just don't like beans. I won't eat it if it has beans in
Isn't
it.
your friend Beans?
My friend is Beans.
You hate beans?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, I'm glad you won't eat them.
Panda or BK? You're going to the lounge.
Burger King would be fine if we didn't just have it.
When did you just have it?
Friday.
I
went to Burger King on Friday. Burger King it is.
Oh,
Back
Burger
to the
King.
BK Lounge. Mouse Cop knows beans.
BK. All
Have
right.
it your way.
The lounge. BK Lounge. All right, guys. Thank you for sitting in as I ripped on the Red Legs for 20 minutes. It's all in good fun. I don't think I'll see you guys I will see you on Friday. I don't think there will be box lunch, but there will be chat power rankings. Have we decided, am I doing that or is Tom doing that? Was it a Tom thing?
Wait, it was a butter up Tom for the week.
All right, we got to tell Tom that he is in charge of the chat power rankings. So that'll be Friday at the end of Off the Bench, but we'll see you guys around. This has been Box Lunch presented by Betfred Sportsbook. See ya.